Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. At the beginning, I swung my sword 1,000,000 times, and I shocked the whole school. Chapter 31. So, what is your relationship now? Long Mingzi felt that the cup was about to burn. Are high school students already playing so much now? Although he is also a high school student. But, the most fancy thing he does is to wear a small skirt and make some gadgets at home. Ox. Lin Tien and Lin Tien looked at each other and then nodded, both showing that you understand me. Having known each other for so many years, there must be a tacit understanding. Close and good neighbors. Fiancé. The two spoke at the same time. Long Mingzi. Zhong Ling said triumphantly, "Look, we have a tacit understanding." You bastard. Don't worry, I will work hard. Lin Tien looked at Zhong Ling very seriously. Feeling such a sincere gaze, Zhong Ling pursed her pink lips, feeling tangled in her heart. Or, don't deny it. I will try my best to make Uncle Zhong hit me lightly. Lin Tien thought it was a perfect addition. Zhong Ling. Long Mingzi. After a little episode, among the crowd at this gathering, the two suddenly became the object of discussion. Yes, Zhong, when did you two get together? Zhong Ling's best friend, Lu Yaoyao came forward and asked with a smile. No, we don't. Zhong Ling shook his head again and again. Without the two of you, we would still be walking together now. Lu Yaoyao said quietly. Along with the booing of the crowd, Zhong Ling felt his head was in a mess and his heart was beating much faster than usual. On the other hand, Lin Tien seems to be much calmer about this situation. With his hands behind his head, he and Zhong Ling followed behind the team nonchalantly. This time he came, in fact, he mainly came to have a meal. Eat less and leave. Speaking of which, he hadn't eaten for a week. If it weren't for the awakened person's physical fitness beyond ordinary people, he would have starved to death long ago. Big guy, it's still early and it's not time to eat. Is there any place you want to go in particular? Let's go together. The first classmate shouted. He is the organizer of this party, B Fang. Tian No. 1 Middle School is a well-known young man from a rich family. He usually doesn't cause disasters and troubles. He heard that he donates money to the disaster-stricken areas every year. He is friendly and loved by students. Hearing what he said, many people also expressed their thoughts. How about going to an internet cafe? Please, it's so cool to play Minecraft with 13 people. Would you like to go to the playground? Isn't there a new one in the city? The facilities are very good. By the way, there is also the most popular online celebrity couple check-in holy place there. Lu Yaoyao almost said this while looking into Zhong Ling's eyes. As long as an individual can understand the meaning of this. B Fang listened to the thoughts of several people, and then he noticed Lin Tien who had been following behind the team. He stepped forward and said with a smile, Brother Lin, I think you have been following behind without talking, don't let go, you are all classmates. Thanks. Lin Tien replied politely. What's there to thank for that? Just now we haven't decided what to do for a while, why don't you tell me? Me. Lin Tien pointed to himself, and said casually, I'm actually here to eat. Everyone. Hearing what Lin Tien said, the others were dumbfounded. Wipe, you speak so bluntly. We all know that with B Fang, it is impossible for other people to pay for this dinner party. I didn't say, why come here for free? In the crowd, someone snorted, as if disgusted by Lin Tien's behavior. Yeah, it's as if we came here without paying. I didn't expect Zhong Ling to hook up with this kind of person. It's really different to skip class. Who won't let him run away? Keep running away, run away from your own future, let's see what he can do in the future, eat every day. Still eating, where does he go? I think he will be a street ruffian in the future, someone who eats steamed buns. How could the people who said these words not know? In fact, many of them had the same idea with Lin Tien. Because of the white wind, they only need to pay the travel expenses when they come here, and the other expenses are not much at all. This is the truth. You can do it, but you can't say it. Once you say it, someone who thinks like you will take the opportunity to stand up and criticize you, so as to improve yourself. B Fang still kept a smile on his face. He didn't mind Lin Tien's words very much. Presumptuous, he didn't feel that way at all. Born in a wealthy family since she was a child, she has long been used to those hypocritical flattery words. This kind of straight ball makes him sound very comfortable. Brother Lin is really straightforward, so let's eat today, Bai treats you. He laughed, stretched out his hand and patted Lin Tien's back twice. Then I'm welcome. Eat whatever you want in the afternoon, you will definitely be satisfied. Lin Tien stopped talking and continued to follow behind the crowd. After Bai Fang left, Zhang Ling moved closer to Lin Tien's ear and whispered, "Why did you say that just now?" "Because I just came here to eat. They're all talking about you, it's hard to hear, you're obviously skipping class." She was a little angry. "Okay, linger." Lin Tien stopped Zhang Ling, who wanted to continue talking. "Whatever they say, I'm just a night watchman, nothing to brag about." But Lin Tien stretched his neck and stopped talking. He peeked at Zhang Ling's angry face, and a smile curled up at the corner of his mouth. "To show off, it's also time for me to kill God." After this matter, Lin Tien's reputation took a turn for the worse among the students. "You will be a coolie in the future, how dare you say such a thing? I heard that their family was very poor. They had no father or mother and were raised by an uncle since they were young. No father and no mother. No wonder you are so unqualified. Young people don't work hard, the old ones are sad, and they don't take responsibility for their own future. Such people don't deserve our pity. When they grow up, they probably won't even have children." Zhang Ling listened to these words one by one from behind the team. "Are you not responsible for your own future? No future. What a sarcasm. If the identity of the night watchman can be announced to the world." Zhang Ling really wanted to tell those who said these words. They are not without prospects and future. Because their future and future are the lights of thousands of families guarded behind them. From the moment he became a night watchman, almost everyone's life is spent fighting against alien species. For this reason, countless people fought hard, and even gave their lives. Now I feel that the years are quiet and good, because someone is carrying the burden for you. If there weren't thousands of night watchmen who burned themselves out, illuminating the vast dark night in front of them. Now Daxia may have been annexed by alien species long ago. Zhang Ling looked at Lin Tien, who just shook his head silently. Her goal is also to become a night watchman. At that time, will she also shoulder this responsibility? Even if it is not recognized by the world. After playing all morning, the sky gradually entered dusk. Everyone followed Bai Fang to a rather luxurious shopping mall. He reserved a box on the 4th floor in advance, and there were almost all kinds of food in it. This shopping mall is located in the central street of Tian City. It is a high-consumption place, and any item in it can easily cost tens of thousands. Therefore, many of the students present came here for the first time. As soon as you walk into the lobby of the shopping mall, you will be attracted by the surrounding ring-shaped buildings and the gem chandelier above your head. As expected of young Master Bai, you actually choose this kind of place for dinner. My family and I came here for a barbecue before, and we were not even 40% full. When we checked out, we found out that it cost more than 2,000. It's really rich and powerful, but I don't know if I have enough money. Several students in the crowd began to whisper. Bai Fang led everyone to the 4th floor. A person in charge quickly stepped forward and warmly greeted everyone. "The box you reserved is at the innermost, please." After the person in charge finished speaking, he turned sideways and led the others to a well-equipped room. Sing K, swimming pool, restaurants are all available. Damn it, is this the world of local tyrants? There is a swimming pool in the room on the 4th floor. This place can cost tens of thousands of dollars a day, and my whole body is worth $500. 500 is too much, I only have 300. Bai Feng looked at everyone and said with a smile, "Today's party is organized by me, everyone don't care about the cost, just eat and drink well. If you want to swim after eating, there are brand new swimsuits inside." When everyone heard it, they cheered immediately. They were actually waiting for this sentence. Now that Bai Feng took the initiative to speak, their activities in the room were no longer restrained. "Brother Bai is mighty. I'm going to change into my swimsuit first. I just learned a spiral swimming method recently, and my speed is comparable to that of a great white shark. Tonight's consumption will be paid by Mr. Bai. I must sing, I must show my singing voice." Lin Tien still followed at the end of the team. Even though he heard Bai Feng say that he was treating guests, his body was not too moved. He is still very specific. The main purpose of coming this time is to grab a meal. Other attractions were not so great to him. At this dinner party, the number of boys is the majority, although the number of girls is small, but every beauty can be regarded as a school flower in the school. How could it be so easy to miss an opportunity to show herself in front of the goddess? Not 5 minutes yet. Except for Lin Tien and B Fang, almost all the men put on their swimsuits and plunged into the pool, splashing quite a bit. Lin Tien stood aside, but his eyes never took half a step away from the dining table. He meows. Didn't you say that you were here for dinner? Zhong Ling, who was by her side, was also dragged by Lu Yaoyao to sing there. While the boys frantically showed off their muscles, they also didn't forget to jump into the water on a springboard less than 1 meter away to show off their skills. As for the girls, I was almost immersed in the music, and I didn't care about them at all. What are those men doing? I don't know, let's sing our songs and ignore them. B Fang at the side noticed Lin Tien, who was alone, so he stepped forward and kindly asked, "Student Lin, why are you sitting here alone?" "Waiting to eat." Lin Tien replied lightly. "You are really different from others." B Fang smiled, and sat next to Lin Tien. "By the way, what did you skip class for?" Lin Tien glanced at him, and said casually, "Go to an internet cafe to have sex with your friends." "No way." B Fang looked surprised. "I don't think you are going to play games." "Why do you say that?" "Because you gave me the feeling today. You don't seem like the kind of person who can skip class for the internet cafe." B Fang thought carefully about what happened that day. Well, anyway, it shouldn't be going to an internet cafe. Lin Tien closed his eyes and chose to remain silent. B Fang looked at the other party's appearance, and smiled apologetically. "I apologize for them, don't take what they said just now to your heart, I actually like the straight ball way of speaking." "I did come here for dinner," Lin Tien said seriously. "That's it, I like it very much." B Fang moved his body and picked a comfortable sitting position. "You don't need to listen to some deliberately close words, others don't know, anyway, I listened to it very comfortably." After Lin Tien listened, he gave B Fang a strange look. Subconsciously moved to the distance. "I'm sexually oriented." B Fang. He put out several question marks with a confused face. "Meow, it's boring to see you alone, so I came to have a conversation with you." "How did you become gay?" "My sexual orientation is normal too." B Fang was so messed up that he didn't know what to say. He looked at Lin Tien awkwardly. "Student Lin, I'm also normal." "Don't lean this way." Lin Tien moved to the edge of the sofa in one breath, and then stopped. B Fang. %. I wipe. "Is it okay to come over and talk to me as a gay man?" After a while, he forced out a sentence. "Student Lin, your thinking is quite avant-garde." "Thanks." B Fang. Chat for 5 minutes, block for 2 hours. He finally found out that chatting with the person in front of him requires a good heart. Talking to him with a heart problem is easy to get over at once. When everyone is about to play, it's time to eat. At the table, seeing that everyone was almost there, B Fang stood up from the main seat and said to everyone, "Everyone is free to eat today, as long as you don't waste it, just order whatever you want. I have eaten at this restaurant many times. The dishes are very complete and taste good." Immediately afterwards, he picked up the menu and said, "If you have anything you want to eat, just order it, you are welcome." As soon as the words came out, no one reached out to ask for the menu. They looked at each other with embarrassment written all over their faces. B Fang treats guests. Who has the nerve to come forward to take the menu? They all want to keep things low-key. After a while, no one showed any intention of taking the menu. B Fang was a little embarrassed, so he could only continue. "We are all classmates, don't be cautious, just order whatever you want." Nobody moved. At this moment, Lin Tien's voice broke the awkward atmosphere. "No one ordered, so I will order." As he spoke, Lin Tien stretched out his hand. B Fang was overjoyed, and hurriedly handed over the menu. "Everyone, don't be cautious, be like Student Lin, or it will be too boring. Everyone, let go." Although this is said, it is not the case in the eyes of others. "No, Brother Bai is treating you today, what would you like to skip class?" "How dare you be so polite, Brother Bai, just be polite," and that kid really took it. "It's really a poor student." "Forget it, I don't want to say anything more." He can order what he wants. Listen to everyone's private discussions. There seemed to be a big embarrassment written on B Fang's face. Who is polite to you? I choose obsessive-compulsive disorder because I really want you to order food. Buddha jumps over the wall, squirrel mandarin fish, lion head. Looking at the dazzling array of dishes, Lin Tien closed the menu with satisfaction. Give me 20 skewers of pork skewers, plus 2 kidneys, to make it more spicy. Everyone, come to such a classy restaurant. You don't choose the state banquet level food like Buddha jumping wall on the menu. Do you eat pork skewers? Everyone was dumbfounded, they didn't expect Lin Tien's taste to be so tricky. That's all, I've almost chosen. Lin Tien put the menu back in front of B Fang. He noticed that B Fang looked a little confused, and asked, can't you grill skewers? B Fang was stunned for a moment, then nodded hastily, yes, let them prepare charcoal fire for you immediately. What's the situation? No one else seemed to have expected B Fang to have such a reaction. It's really not up to the grade. If you come to this kind of place to eat skewers, you will never be able to enjoy it for the rest of your life. It's too late to have a dinner before the military training, why did you come with a conspicuous bag? I feel ashamed to eat with him. Sure enough, I can't get along with such a poor student with limited prospects. It's hard to believe that these harsh words were uttered by a classmate from the same school. But Lin Tien just silently glanced at the wooden sword wrapped in bandages in his hand, without speaking. The skewers are good. Zhong Ling suddenly made a sound, and looked at B Fang, then I'll eat 10 skewers of mutton, plus a roasted eggplant and roasted crispy bones, which are also spicy. I saw someone stand up again, and it was Zhong Ling. Everyone didn't understand again. Sitting next to Zhong Ling, Lu Yaoyao gently tugged on the other's sleeve, and after seeing no results, she slowly raised her hand while taking advantage of her head. I want mutton skewers too, plus a skewer stinky tofu. Seeing the 2 campus beauty goddesses also said that they want to eat barbecue. They naturally have no opinion. Then I want 2 skewers of dried tofu, garlic oysters and shabu shabu tripe. Bravely breaking into the end of the world and Daoqing Junsheng. As more and more people say what they want to eat. The few who were still mocking eating barbecue in this kind of place just now couldn't help shrinking back. If they all eat barbecue, then he can only choose barbecue. Even if you don't want to. Otherwise, the one who doesn't fit in will become him. At that time, no one may go back to discuss Lin Tien, who was the first to stand up and say he wanted to eat skewers. Instead, it will focus on him, the person who ordered other food. B Fang didn't feel anything strange. After choosing a few skewers he wanted to eat, he handed over the menu to the person in charge. At first, the person in charge on the 4th floor was still a little puzzled about B Fang's proposal to prepare a charcoal fire. It's useless to think about getting this thing right. But when he saw all the barbecue ingredients on the menu, others were stupid on the spot. FK, what's the situation? Come to this place for barbecue. In the box. The atmosphere of the crowd was much more harmonious. At this time, a classmate suddenly told his experience. Let me tell you, on my way home from school a few days ago, a monster covered in pitch black suddenly rushed out and bit anyone it saw. In the end, guess what? Several mysterious people wearing masks were killed by that monster. He is full of voice and emotion, rich in expression. So, we have nothing to be afraid of, because someone is silently guarding us behind our backs. Really, I haven't heard you mention this matter before. Those monsters seem to be called alien species. I've only seen them on TV. But those mysterious people are so handsome. There wasn't a white-clothed swordsman a few days ago. They are the heroes here. Hearing these words, Zhong Ling suddenly had the urge to laugh. Envy those heroes. She glanced at Lin Tien, who was resting with his eyes closed. If you let them know that the poor students who have no future and no quality in their mouths are the ones who guard behind them. What kind of scene should it be? But Zhong Ling held back. Sooner or later, she too will become a night watchman. To become a night watchman, learning to endure is a compulsory course. Not long after, everyone looked at the barbecue on the table, and the environment of the box didn't seem to be inconsistent at all. Is it an illusion? Why does it feel like this barbecue has become more upscale? Maybe the meat inside is not ordinary meat. I'll take a sip. No difference. Quote. Lin Tien picked up a string of pork skewers and took a bite. This is the taste. Inexplicably, I stayed in the mood of the years for a month. It feels so refreshing to eat a mouthful of hot pork skewers suddenly. Come on Ling you have a taste too. As Lin Tien spoke, he picked up another bunch and put it to Zhang Ling's mouth. I'm so grown up, I still ask someone to feed me. Come on, open your mouth and lick it. Zhang Ling closed her mouth tightly, glared at Lin Tien fiercely, and lowered her voice to the lowest. Bastard, I can eat it myself. You can take it if you can eat it. I'll take it myself. She pushed Lin Tien's hand away, and then went to get the mutton skewers that she was thinking of. If you want to eat mutton, don't tell me earlier. Lin Tien finished his half of the skewer, got up and took a skewer of mutton and handed it to Zhang Ling's mouth. You can eat it now. Zhang Ling tried his best to control his emotions. She snatched the mutton skewers, her gritted teeth suddenly loosened, and whispered in Lin Tien's ear, you said that if your amiable Uncle Zhang knew that you just said outside that we are a couple. What do you think is going to happen? Lin Tien. His pupils shrank suddenly, and he twisted his stiff neck to look at Zhang Ling. As if to say, you girl is so cruel. Zhang Ling covered her mouth with her hands, and said with a smirk, why don't you try? Wrong, Lin Tien admitted decisively, picked up the mutton skewers again, and respectfully put them on Zhang Ling's plate. You are really my aunt. That's about the same. Zhang Ling pursed his lips, picked up a mutton skewer and ate it. Looking at Lin Tien again, his expression was lost and his momentum was sluggish. Meow, why does it feel like this skewer is not as fragrant as before? Bell. Suddenly, the piercing bell outside the mall suddenly rang. The sound spread throughout the mall in an instant. What's the situation? B Fang stood up abruptly, and looked at the closed door of the box with a blank expression. This ringtone is only set by the mall for emergency avoidance. Generally, it will only be activated when various disasters come. Right, another situation arose in B Fang's head. That is heterogeneous. Apart from B Fang, there were two other people present who responded immediately. Lin Tien's leisurely expression turned serious in an instant. He patted Zhang Ling with his hand. The other party immediately understood, and quickly stood up and ran to the closed screen window in front of the box door. Through the window, it can be vaguely seen that there is a dark crack in the center of the shopping mall that wants to tear this space apart. In the gap, the pitch-black tentacles began to squirm outwards. Not good. It's a crack in the abyss. With the expansion of the crack, more and more spiky black tentacles emerged from it. The originally bustling shopping mall suddenly became chaotic. Outside the box, the originally empty corridor suddenly became crowded with the ringing of the bell. The ear-piercing sirens seemed to swallow up the remaining sanity of those people, and the only thought in their minds was to escape from here. Lin Tien, who was in the box, sank in thought. He didn't expect that the abyss rift would appear in such a crowded shopping mall. In this area, even the weakest F-rank alien can easily cause dozens of casualties. But all this is too idealistic. If the strength of the alien species in the crack is above sea level, it won't take long for the entire mall to be slaughtered. Ah! Outside the box, heart-piercing screams sounded. In the crack, those tentacles began to curl inward, and finally merged into a monster covered with disgusting eyeballs. Hundreds of tentacles squirmed, shattering the surrounding walls recklessly. Several boulders fell, and small landslides occurred in the direction of many exits. This made those people panic even more. He frantically pushed away passers-by who were also fleeing for his life. Some old people and children were brutally pushed aside. No matter how much they cried for help, the people around seemed not to hear them. The indifference of human nature is on full display at this moment. Seeing this scene, Zhang Ling subconsciously clenched her hands tightly. Snapped. At this time, she only felt a hand on her shoulder. Looking back, Lin Tien did not know when he appeared behind him. Stay here well, those students need you. Those people out there need me. Zhang Ling knew what Lin Tien wanted to do, but when he saw innocent people downstairs being slapped away by alien tentacles, she swallowed back what he was about to say. She held onto Lin Tien's sleeves tightly with both hands, she lowered her head, and after a while she said bitterly, come back safely. Rest assured, thousands of words stuck in my heart, but in the end I only uttered 4 short words. This is the first time she has encountered a situation where a foreign species has descended into the world. even though Zhang Ling had done a lot of homework and mental preparation before. But when the disaster really strikes, I still feel a little flustered in my heart. Especially the moment Lin Tien walked out. Zhang Ling patted his face and forced himself to calm down. She will also become a night watchman in the future. The closer to this kind of juncture, calmness can often be the key to saving lives. Everyone, don't panic, Zhang Ling shouted to everyone. It's very chaotic outside now, everyone wait in the box for a while, confirm the direction before leaving. When people encounter difficulties, their brains will instinctively follow their instructions. So, under Zhang Ling's suggestion, a dozen people moved closer to the corner. As a child of a rich family, B Fang himself knows many things. Alien is one of them. He was the second to walk out of the panic, and was slightly surprised when he saw Zhang Ling. No time to think too much. B Fang also cooperated with Zhang Ling and shouted at this moment, "Everyone, listen to Zhang, don't panic and don't shout. I will point out the nearest escape route from here later. When the time comes, everyone will evacuate there in an orderly manner." But at this time, some students yelled in a crying voice in the crowd, "Ordinary fart. Damn, when the aliens come up, we're all finished." They were breathing heavily, and some were even frightened and cried on the spot, curled up in a corner and trembling. "It's over. I can't go back. It's all my fault for this dinner party. If I didn't come, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah, damn, why do I have to come to this dinner party? It's better not to come, now I'm going to die. Mom and Dad, I want to eat braised pork. I miss you. Damn it, I don't care, you can stay here if you like, I'm running away." One male student cursed loudly, stood up and rushed towards the door. "Why don't you run away even at this juncture? Save the dumplings." Seeing the boy rushing out, B Fang was about to step forward to dissuade him. He saw Zhang Ling standing in front of him and grabbing the man's arm with one hand. "It's not you." The boy was about to speak, but when he saw it was Zhang Ling, he held it back. "Quiet." Zhang Ling pulled the boy aside. Her voice brought some relief to students who were on the verge of collapse. "Run out now and die. The corridor is overcrowded now. If you go out and fight with them now, you will probably be trampled to death by those people before you can wait for the aliens." Zhang Ling's sonorous and powerful voice made many people stunned. They stopped crying and raised their heads. B Fang looked at the girl in front of him who was about the same size as himself, and the shock in his heart was beyond words. He could feel that the girl in front of him was not simple. How to be so calm in this situation? He guessed it was because he had done some targeted training before. After all, his father had told him so. When the alien species comes, a group of people will stand up and silently protect them and the entire Great Shah. Night Watchmen. This is their name, and they have descendants. Maybe the Zhang Ling in front of him is the descendant of the Night Watchman. Thinking of this, even if it was his guess, he couldn't help but feel a little more respect for the girl in front of him. This respect is not only for Zhang Ling, but also for the senior Night Watchman behind her. They are the heroes who carry the burden in the dark night. Shut up, everyone. If you want to survive, just listen to classmate Zhang. B Fang said angrily. Zhang Ling didn't care about anything else and continued to speak. This shopping mall is a ring-shaped structure. Its own special structure means that as long as it is not damaged to a certain extent, it is not prone to large-scale landslides. I'm not familiar with the terrain here, so the nearest safety exit. I know. B Fang walked out of the crowd and said clearly, "Everyone, follow me in a moment. The aliens are on the first floor now. There is no way to get out of the door. If you want to go out, you can only use the fire escape at the back door of the mall." "Where?" "Everyone, a moment." In the middle of B Fang's words, he suddenly noticed that one of the dozen students seemed to be missing. "No, where has Lin Tien gone?" As soon as these words came out, many people began to look on both sides of him. As expected, Lin Tien, who was sitting at the dining table just now, disappeared, and no one was seen in the entire box. "Hey, it's important to escape first. Why do you care if he is alone? If he is willing to run out, then let him run. Who cares whether he lives or lives? He must have just taken advantage of the chaos and ran out. Brother Bai, don't worry about him. Let's go out first and then talk. Yes, he abandoned us here and ran away alone. He was so selfish. It would be best to die here. If he doesn't die, I will definitely not be able to spare him when he gets out. A villain like this would be better off dying here and being devoured by the monster outside. Outside the box, there was howling miserably. The old man was knocked to the ground. He struggled to get up from the ground, but was knocked down again. The child was crying in the crowd, standing helplessly in the chaotic crowd looking for his lost mother. Damn it, can you hurry up? I still have to run for my life. A young man urged anxiously, pulling the person in front of him behind him with both hands, and he rushed forward regardless. You guys who don't have eyes, get out of here. There's a monster behind you. You're so slow to escape, why are you eating? Get out of here, get out of here. Damn, who took advantage of this and touched my butt? The chaotic crowd had no time to care about others. Lin Tien had already put on the funny mask that he carried with him at this moment, and he was wearing white clothes and glaring at the spherical alien species below. Below, a little boy of about 5 or 6 years old raised his head and looked at the alien species that had reached the sky with fear in his eyes. Mother! The little boy screamed tremblingly, his feet weakened and he sat on the ground crying helplessly. The alien's squirming scarlet eyes seemed to have discovered the little boy below, and a thick and long fanged tentacle slammed down. At the critical moment, a light and shadow mixed with Xiaoyao sword intent flashed past. In an instant, the alien was seriously injured. Lin Tien held the wooden sword in his hand and slowly walked up to the little boy. He squatted down and put his other hand gently on the boy's head. He said gently, "It's okay. I'll take you to find your mother later." The little boy wiped away his tears and looked at Lin Tien with his big innocent eyes blinking. After a long while, he said in a childish voice, "Big brother, daughter, you an armored warrior?" Armored warrior? Lin Tien was stunned. He stood up and slashed his sword from behind, killing the seriously injured alien in an instant. He lowered his funny face and smiled lightly, "I am. Not only that, there are thousands of armored warriors in this world." Really? The little boy stopped his trembling legs and stood up. The fear in his eyes disappeared. He looked at Lin Tien excitedly, "I will be a hero like my big brother in the future, and I will also be an armored warrior." Xiaoguang. At this time, a middle-aged woman ran over from the crowd with tears in her eyes and held the little boy in her arms. The little boy put his hands on the woman's back and comforted her in a childish tone, "Mom, don't be afraid. A warrior in armor saved us. Xiaoguang is not afraid at all now." Armored warrior. The woman seemed to notice Lin Tien holding a wooden sword beside her, and said gratefully, thank you for saving our little light. Mom, he is an armored warrior. He is so powerful, he defeated that monster with one sword." Lin Tien stood aside silently, looking at the little boy's appearance, with a faint smile on his lips. He suddenly remembered the story about himself that senior who had told him, and Captain Gao when he was young. At this moment, he also became a ray of light in this young man's heart. The peaceful atmosphere did not last long. Lin Tien only felt a chill rising from his back. Immediately afterwards, he looked at the abyss crack. Not only did it show no signs of healing, it actually grew larger. Not good. Lin Tien secretly screamed and quickly helped the mother and son up. "You follow the crowd and leave here first." "Correct." He suddenly stopped the young man named Xiaoguang. "Protect your mother." When Xiaoguang heard this, he nodded as hard as he could, "I will. Mom, let's go, I'll protect you." Watching the mother and daughter begin to follow the crowd to evacuate. Within the crack, a strange roar suddenly came from. Roar. As the roar increased, the crack in the abyss was forcibly torn open, and dozens of heads with fangs poked out from inside. So many alien species. When Lin Tien saw this, he also felt that the matter was getting tricky. It's not difficult to kill them. But if you want to fight, be careful not to let the attack affect the surrounding buildings. This matter became difficult. After the destruction of the alien species just now, many load-bearing walls of the entire shopping mall have been smashed. Once a large area of landslide occurs. Linger. He looked up to the direction of the 4th floor, and clenched the wooden sword in his hand a little more. Suddenly, a crazy and bold idea popped up in Lin Tien's mind. Take the battlefield from here. Transfer to the abyss plane in the crack. If other night watchmen knew about this, they would probably say that Lin Tien was crazy. In the plane of the abyss, not only the strength of the alien species will be greatly strengthened, but the damage to itself will also be quite huge. But at the moment, that's the only way to do it. Lin Tien took a deep breath, and the wooden sword in his hand condensed around sword intent, and slashed towards the crack. Accompanied by gunpowder smoke slowly rising. A body of a different species was annihilated on the spot by this sword intent. Black mud spilled all over the place. A stench filled the air. But in the cracks, there are still alien species swarming out. They seem to have been called by something, or sensed something, and they are all rushing towards the present world at the same time. Lin Tien looked at the crack several meters long and wide, but felt troubled himself. Embarrassed. He can't get in. Although the cracks are big, there are too many of these alien species. It was so packed. No matter how much he killed, these alien species showed no signs of decreasing. What happened? It seems that a week ago, he heard from Uncle Wang that the activities of alien species have been very frequent recently. Could it be related to the coming of the gods? Lin Tien's figure retreated tens of meters in an instant. Next moment, time seemed to slow down all around. On the Lin Tien wooden sword, an invisible law intertwined with the Xiaoyao sword intent. Instantly, the world lost its original color and turned into a gray scene. The thread of time and the sword intent of Xiaoyao gradually converged into a huge sword, standing in the sky above Lin Tien. Swordsmanship of time and time. Soundless, flowing water. Suddenly, in an instant, the giant sword split into countless streams flowing in the air. But soon, wherever the stream goes, it turns into dust eroded by the years. This sword is what he learned from the experience of Senior Hu. Although there is only one style, but under the blessing of the artistic conception of the years and the meaning of the sword, the power has reached a quite frightening level. Pre-estimated, this sword can kill 4 gentlemen sheep. Not enough. It should be 5, 5.5. When the swordsmanship emerged over the years, the world's expression changed upon hearing it. In the gap of the abyss, countless alien species were turned into dust by the sword while still screaming. In a blink, hundreds of alien species were wiped out. But Lin Tien's nerves were still tense. The crisis has not dissipated. If I guessed correctly, those who came just now were all cannon fodder. And now the one coming out is the big guy. Do you all remember? In the private room, B Fang looked at everyone and exhorted. Others nodded one after another. At this time, being alive is better than anything else. Zhongling cautiously moved to the window, and many places outside had been blocked by falling rubble. But there seemed to be a lot less screaming from the crowd. Outside, it seems to be quiet. As she spoke, she poked her head out of the window, and at first the spherical alien had indeed disappeared. But at the same time, Zhongling didn't see Lin Tien either. Since it's quiet, let's go now. B Fang gently pushed open the door of the box. Everyone must follow me closely. Zhongling's heart sank as he watched the people leaving from the box. She looked at the crack in the abyss with some concern. Student Zhong, let's go first. B Fang reminded. I know, here we come. Zhongling struggled to keep up with the team on the empty first floor. At the same time, the front of the abyss cracked. A roar suddenly came from inside. Immediately afterwards, a ghost-like alien rushed out of the crack in an instant. The 2 sharp blades drew afterimages in the air, approaching Lin Tien's throat. So fast. Lin Tien was amazed. This is an alien species he has never seen before. Its body was more like a giant praying mantis, but its whole body was pitch black, and its 2 purple pupils flipped up and down, finally locking onto Lin Tien. Hiss! The praying mantis alien roared. In the next second, it suddenly bounced from the spot, and the huge figure kept shuttling between the walls. 6 tentacles that were as sharp as blades brutally crushed the wall under their feet. This should be a B-level alien. Lin Tien stood where he was, allowing the mantis aliens to wander around him, looking for his own flaws. For this kind of alien species with IQ, their ranks are generally above sea level. After a few seconds, several walls collapsed under the stampede of the praying mantis. Just then, Lin Tien moved. A sword stabbed out, splashing blood and sealing his throat. Xiaoyao's sword intent is condensed all over his body, and he is about to kill the opponent here. The sword is about to fall. Lin Tien seemed to have sensed something, and violently swung the Xiaoyao sword intent towards the sky. Just then, a huge hammer full of tumors suddenly fell down. Accompanied by howling wind, the giant hammer and the long sword face each other heavily. The force was so strong that Lin Tien's tiger's mouth was a little numb due to the shock. At the same time, the blade of the praying mantis pierced out from the front. Not good. Lin Tien cursed inwardly, and swung his right hand forcefully. The sledgehammer held in the sky was cut with a bloody mouth, and sticky blood sprayed out from the sledgehammer. In the blink of an eye, he pushed his feet hard and rolled backwards. Then the power above the blade retreated several meters. After landing smoothly, a scratch was drawn on Lin Tien's white clothes. He looked down at the funny face mask, and then the corner of his mouth twitched. I spent more than 600 custom-made clothes, why did you ruin it for me? Crackling. A more terrifying aura burst out from Lin Tien's body. He broke his neck and walked towards the praying mantis variant step by step. Beside it is the second alien that came out of the crack. The figure is thin and tall, covered in gray-white mucus, without facial features, only a sledgehammer connected to the body. And the gap cut by Lin Tien is currently healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Another B-rank alien. Wrong. It's grade A. Lin Tien suddenly realized that the feeling of this Warhammer alien was no less than that of a gentry sheep. There are actually 2 high-level alien species in this kind of place. I don't know when the night watchman will arrive. But before coming, he will kill these 2 alien species first. Otherwise, my torn clothes are not easy to explain. Lin Tien's eyes were gloomy, and he became more determined in his idea of a quick battle. Once the A-level aliens run out from here, the entire city center may suffer. Roar! The Warhammer alien picked up the heavy sledgehammer and slammed it to the ground. The whole mall vibrated like an earthquake. The aftermath swayed, and several stone pillars shattered and collapsed. Don't mess it up. Lin Tien cursed loudly. If it continues like this, it won't take long for this shopping mall to collapse. The people here haven't fully withdrawn yet. Because of the landslide, many people were trapped in the gap between the 2nd and 3rd floors. He looked at the corpses under his feet. Lin Tien was angry from his heart, and the Xiaoyao sword intent condensed in the sky and then floated down. The mantis alien raised its eyeballs, and its figure flashed in front of the sword intent, raising its blade to block it. Depending on you. Do you deserve it, bastard? Lin Tien dropped one hand, and the sword intent suddenly became stronger. Under this terrifying power and influence, the several-meter-high figure of the praying mantis gradually distorted, and its black body was destroyed by the sword intent at an extremely fast speed. Ah! It screamed, but it was too late to escape. The mantis alien desperately tried to pull out its blade tentacles from the sword intent, but all it got was a more violent roar. Lin Tien flicked his hand casually. The praying mantis variant was thrown out and hit a weighing stone pillar heavily. He approached the Warhammer alien step by step. It's your turn. The face of the Warhammer alien with no facial features trembled, roaring angrily and continuously blasting the Warhammer to the ground. It panicked. Or rather, this is the first time it feels threatened from humans. Even if he couldn't see the sharp gaze, his whole body was in pain like being eaten by thousands of ants. The other side, Zhongling led the crowd to the fire escape that B Fang said. Because of the special material and structure inside, it is stronger than other areas and is not easy to collapse. There is a fire escape in front, everyone, go in. B Fang shouted anxiously, you can go outside by following the stairs. Boom! Just when everyone was about to reach the passage, the praying mantis variant suddenly stood up from the pile of rubble, and its 2 pairs of arms had been sliced to pieces by the sword intent. The crippled body was trembling, as if it would fall down in the next second. After several students saw this alien species, the last line of defense in their hearts completely collapsed. Ah! A girl screamed, stumbling towards the fire escape, ignoring the others around her. It was this move that immediately attracted the attention of the praying mantis. It turned its head to Zhongling's side, and its purple pupils stared at everyone. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat at this moment. Among them, except for Zhongling and B Fang, no one thought that this would happen. After seeing that he was discovered, his heart was completely desperate. Damn, why don't you shout? It's over, that monster is looking this way. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Run, what the hell, don't stop me, I want to go out. That monster is rushing over. The originally calm and orderly team fell apart at this moment. Shouts and wailing were mixed together in a chaotic state. The classmates have completely lost the intention of helping each other, pushing each other, only thinking that they can escape. Zhongling looked at the alien species that was rushing here. The brain is completely blank at this moment. Just when she took the first step, not just someone pulled her aside forcefully from behind. Zhongling leaned against the wall, watching the alien species that was about to charge. It's over. She is dying. Thump. The surroundings suddenly fell silent, and the sound of the heartbeat became especially clear. No, can't die. Zhongling woke up from despair in an instant. She's also going to be a night watchman. I must not die here. Zhongling stood up with difficulty, took a step, and ran towards the passage step by step. The distance keeps shortening. 3 meters. 2 meters. In a daze, the corridor suddenly dimmed, and the figure of the praying mantis alien species rushed to block the only remaining light. At the critical moment, Lu Yaoyao opened the door of the fire escape, and grabbed Zhongling, who was not far away, with one hand. Run. I'm holding you back. But there was a bang. The floor suddenly caved in. After the mantis alien roared to the sky, the purple light in its pupils dissipated, and it completely lost its life. Accompanied by the fall of the corpse, the floor began to cave in downward. Zhongling only felt his body lighten, and he fell down quickly. Linger. Lu Yaoyao desperately grabbed the falling Zhongling with one hand, gritted her teeth and said, I won't let you fall, no. This moment, in the fire escape, many people couldn't help hesitating when they saw this scene. Is it to save people, or just run away? But there seems to be another alien species outside. What if I stepped forward to save him and lost my life because of it? Leave them alone, let's run. Suddenly, someone yelled with a guilty conscience. Yeah, let's go quickly, or we will explain everything here when the alien stands up later. What a hero, brother Bai, let's go. Yeah, brother Bai, let her save them if they want to. Life is still important now. Many people began to run down the stairs. Someone wanted to pull Bai Fang together when they left, but was pulled away by the other party. You guys run first, I will follow later. Bai Fang swallowed his saliva, stepped over several pieces of gravel and came to Lu Yaoyao's side. Student Zhang, give me that hand, the two of us will pull you up together. Mall Central. Lin Tien seemed to have noticed where the praying mantis variant fell. Directly above it was Zhongling, who was struggling to support in the air. Linger. His pupils shrank suddenly, and his heart skipped a beat. The Warhammer alien seemed to have noticed this too. Taking advantage of Lin Tien's moment of slack, he smashed it down with one blow. Roll. Lin Tien roared angrily, and a powerful sword force erupted from his body. A sword swung out. The Warhammer alien that was several meters high flew out in an instant. Lin Tien has rushed towards Zhongling's direction at an extremely fast speed. Next second, several boulders fell down. The floor with the fire escape also collapsed. At this moment, Lin Tien appeared above the three of them wearing a funny face mask. Catch me, he roared. Seeing this, Bai Fang closed his eyes. Leave me alone, save them first. Lin Tien had sharp eyes and quick hands. While chopping the rocks, the other hand pulled Zhongling and Lu Yaoyao up together. The two collapsed on the ground like the rest of their lives, panting with difficulty. Lu Yaoyao looked up at Lin Tien, who was dressed in white and wearing a funny mask. Her heart speeded up for no reason. Good, so handsome, thank you for saving us. Zhongling naturally knew who the person in front of him was, but in order not to arouse Lu Yaoyao's suspicion, he still said, thank you, for saving us. You're welcome. There was a malicious smile under Lin Tien's mask. He leaned close to Zhongling's ear and whispered, am I handsome? Handsome. Zhongling nodded vigorously, his eyes slightly moistened. Hearing this answer, Lin Tien froze for a moment. Only then did I notice. The girl in front of her seemed to be about to cry. The white dress was scratched a few times, her little face was dirty, and her hair was messy, making her look a little distressed. Lin Tien rubbed Zhongling's head with one hand, and comforted him softly, don't worry, I'm fine. Zhongling lowered her head, stretched out her hands and put them down again. She sobbed a bit, and pretended to be firm, thank you for saving us. Fine. Lin Tien also understood, and chopped up all the boulders blocking the intersection with his sword. You guys leave first, I'll go and rescue the person below. Is he still alive? Lu Yaoyao hurriedly asked. Everyone was running just now, only he came to help us. Well, he's still alive. Lin Tien nodded slightly, looking down at the collapsed pile of rubble. His keen perception ability allowed him to easily catch the sound of the other party's breathing. Not too weak, but it's not much better. At least not life-threatening. Leave first, leave this place to me. Lin Tien opened his mouth lightly. So handsome. Lu Yaoyao looked at the unique man in front of her, her eyes lit up. Do you have WeChat? I can. Let's go. Before Lu Yaoyao could finish speaking, Zhong Ling grabbed her and said, get out of here quickly, it's not safe. Wait until the two leave completely. Lin Tien looked at the pile of rubble below. It's a man. After speaking, he jumped down. This is where. Bai Fang opened his eyes in a daze, and found himself in a dark space. With the help of the weak light, he could barely see the surrounding environment clearly. I remembered. He fell from the 4th floor and was trapped in the ruins. 2 long strips of boulders were on top, leaving him just enough space to squat down. He tried to move the boulder in front of him. As soon as he exerted force, a piercing pain came from his right arm. Hiss. Bai Fang grinned in pain. The arm is probably broken. Can't make any effort at all. It can be difficult to lift a stone with 2 hands, let alone 1. He closed his eyes, feeling his gradually weak breathing. From childhood to adulthood, it seemed that this was the first time he had suffered such a serious injury. Bai Feng didn't know why he yelled out the words, "Don't care about yourself," when he fell down. Maybe it's a hot head. Now that I think about it, it's really stupid. Wouldn't it be nice to just be a rich young master? What kind of hero is he? Bai Feng smiled in relief. He didn't want to cry himself to death. The oxygen in the air is getting thinner. As time passed, his consciousness gradually blurred. This time it's here. The person who came to save them just now probably felt that he was hopeless. Clatter. At this time, a sword chi passed by him. Dozens of huge stones pressing on him were chopped into pieces in an instant. The golden lights shone in again. Bai Feng, who was ready to face death, froze in place for more than 10 seconds. Looked up. What catches the eye is that impressive funny face mask. It's you. You are saved. Lin Tien stretched out his hand and pulled Bai Feng up from below. Thanks. With an excited expression, Bai Feng held Lin Tien's hands tremblingly and kept thanking him. He is very excited, because finally you don't have to die. Nobody wants to die. In other words, anyone would be like him at this moment. After a while, Bai Feng's emotions finally calmed down. He looked at the funny mask, pondered for a long time and said, "You classmate Lin." What? Lin Tien's body trembled, and at this moment, his brain came up with countless excuses to clear his identity. Well, what are you talking about? I don't know. After he finished speaking, he hid the wooden sword in his hand backward. Seeing this, Bai Feng confirmed his inner thoughts even more. Sure enough, you are classmate Lin. I'm not. You are. No. Yes. Lin Tien. When I sat down to talk with you, I noticed that your palms were rough, and I wanted to ask why. Bai Feng said with a smile, and then his eyes fell on the wooden sword in Lin Tien's hand. Now I should have known. Lin Tien didn't answer. Anyway, up to now, no matter what he said, the other party thought he was Lin Tien. Simply keep silent and say nothing. Besides, what kind of good guy he just met and looked at the palm of his hand. Think carefully. This kid can't really like masculine ones. Thinking of this, Lin Tien couldn't help but shudder. If you don't speak, I will take it as your acquiescence. Seeing that Lin Tien was silent, Bai Feng spoke up. Never mind. Roar. Just as Lin Tien opened his mouth to speak, the warhammer alien in the distance woke up from the dizziness. Swinging a sledgehammer is like smashing wildly. Squeeze the numbness. Lin Tien gritted his teeth and looked at each other. If I don't talk, you won't wake up. As soon as I open my mouth, you will smash it, right? What are you waiting for? Stop talking, I'll make you fly later. Lin Tien said to himself, with an extremely harsh and gloomy tone. Bai Feng, you go out first, we will talk about anything later. Lin Tien warned. The road over there has already been cleared, and the others have already gone out, so you should follow along. How about you? I'm going to fix this shit. Lin Tien looked at the Warhammer alien, and said, little thing, I'll chop it up for you later. Quote. Then I'll go first. B Fang limped towards the fire escape with his broken right hand in his arms. Before leaving, he suddenly turned around. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone your identity. Thanks. Lin Tien waved his hand, leaving a handsome back view on the other party. Mall Central. A group of people trapped in the middle of the mezzanine gathered together in despair, praying silently. Help. Someone help me. Shut up. Do you want that monster to find out? If you make any noise, I will kill you. There are heroes in our city. Someone will protect us. If we persist for a while, we will definitely be saved. Who will guard? Someone would have come to save us long ago, as for letting that monster destroy it for so long. In the ruins, some people have already begun to give up on themselves. Suddenly, a little girl came through the gap and said childishly, someone is here to save us. Mom, someone is here to defeat that monster. During the conversation, several sword lights streaked across the body of the Warhammer alien. In the blink of an eye, several wounds appeared on that alien's body. Roar! The Warhammer alien was completely enraged by these attacks. It swung the sledgehammer furiously, and its face without facial features gradually twisted. Stop shouting. Lin Tien poked out his ears and looked at the Warhammer alien with disdain. Call me to sew your mouth shut. Warhammer alien. Well, I'll give you a hammer again. He corrected. Roar. When the Warhammer alien heard that it was about to smash its hammer, it went into a rage on the spot. Effective. The corner of Lin Tien's mouth curled up, and several evil thoughts suddenly appeared in his mind. Looking at the sledgehammer falling head-on, he dodged easily by turning sideways a little. Using the gap created by each attack of the hammer, Lin Tien holds the sword to output with a click. The sword intent slashed on the body of the Warhammer alien like raindrops, making it continuously howl in pain. It reluctantly swung the sledgehammer again and smashed it towards Lin Tien, who was in the air. HMPH, hooked. Lin Tien slashed at the sledgehammer with his sword, and used his strength to push back. After landing, several more sword intents slashed out. Pooh! Gray blood gushed out from the wound. Stop shouting. Lin Tien raised his middle finger towards the opponent. Why didn't you smash it? Don't you care about your sledgehammer? I'll humiliate your sledgehammer in front of you later. How can you not be angry? As soon as these words came out, the Warhammer alien was not calm. It stood up crazily, swung the sledgehammer in its hand and attacked Lin Tien. Anxious. Not only was it humiliating, but I also used my wooden sword to stab it horizontally and vertically. Roar! The Warhammer alien fell into madness, attacking Lin Tien desperately. The people trapped in the ruins were also stunned when they heard these words. Outside. Are you killing xenomorphs? Why are you still flirting? What a word of tiger and wolf. This is it. Outside the mall. Several figures wearing masks appeared on the roof of the shopping mall. Captain, it's right here. A night watchman said. Don't be inked. Go down quickly, the alien species will rush out in a while. Another middle-aged man wearing sunglasses held a toothpick in his mouth. This time the abyss has a huge crack, and it is very likely to be a sea level or higher alien species. Everyone be prepared. Yes, okay, get ready to go. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he turned around and saw that several team members were still squatting there, not moving for a long time. Life is not a child's play. I don't know how many people are trapped in the mall now. Hurry up. Not the captain. No, hurry down. The middle-aged man interrupted. Captain, it seems that there are already other night watchmen fighting with him. The team member pointed down and replied. Several people. Just one. What? The middle-aged man was furious when he heard this. As a night watchman, how could you watch other comrades fight alone at such a juncture? Others are ready. Immediately go down with me to support. Seeing this, the team member quickly explained. No, Captain, this. It seems that we are going to spoil the atmosphere a bit. What bullshit are you talking about? The middle-aged man directly threw the team member aside, and then followed him to look down. Then, he froze. The expression turned from doubt to dullness, and finally became unbelievable. What the hell, is there something wrong with my eyes or ears? The middle-aged man closed his eyes and turned his back, not looking down. No, it simply shocked him for 1,000 years. You have to take it slow, or you won't be able to accept it. What's the matter, Captain? Can that alien species attack mentally? Other team members rushed over upon hearing the news. Go and see for yourself, I'll take it easy. 5 seconds later. Everyone froze in place, with expressions of extreme shock on their faces. Read that right. You should read that right. There seems to be someone down there. While attacking, he was brutally humiliated with words. Hit the beasts here. Why can't you hit it? Weren't you pretty good at hitting it just now? Are you out of strength? Are you not going to smash? If not, I will hit you with the hammer in front of you. Ravage. The main thing is to use the wooden sword in my hand to thrust back and forth in front of you. Words that were offensive to their ears reached their ears. I have been a night watchman for almost 3 or 4 years. This is the first time I have seen this situation. Wrong. This has never happened in the entire Night Watch Division's hundreds of years of history. The middle-aged man at the head was rubbing his temples, looking like he had a headache. See the scene below. It seemed to remind him of an experience he would never forget. The same as the Night Watchman and the alien battle. But unlike the boy in white, their identities were completely interchanged. When I think of that tentacle alien, damn it. It has always been the life of aliens playing with and teasing human beings. This is the first time I've seen it in reverse. You are a man. The middle-aged man was in awe and looked at Lin Tien with approval. This scene aroused the bloody passion of those young night watchmen. Yeah, from now on, I will not only kill the alien species. I will also torture and kill him. Let them wreak havoc in the Great Shah and kill innocent people indiscriminately. From now on, I will also learn from this senior night watchman, insert weapons into them, and use words to humiliate them. Damn it, show me it's on fire. If it doesn't work, I have to go down and curse. Stop. Just as the other team members were about to go down to fight against the alien species with Lin Tien, the middle-aged man on the side stopped him. They only saw Lin Tien spraying alien species wildly. But the most important thing was ignored. Strength. Because many low-level aliens don't have such a thing as IQ. Their minds are only killing and devouring, so no matter what they say, it is just a sound to them. But this alien species is different. It can be affected by language, which shows its own strength. Let's look at the expansion size of the abyss cracks. A height of about tens of meters. The weakest aliens that come out of this kind of crack are all sea level. You can't go down. The middle-aged man restrained his fluctuating emotions and said in a deep voice. Why, Captain, that monster doesn't seem to be a big deal except for its size. Yes, Captain, if we go down, we may be able to resolve the battle faster. Senior is very strong, and those of us must not hold back. A hint of doubt appeared on the faces of the other night watchmen. Those who said this just now will each write a 20,000-word self-reflection, plus a 10,000-word battle experience. The middle-aged man had a profound vision, and he said unhurriedly, if you go down, you will only give something to that white-clothed man. Young people cause trouble. As soon as these words came out, the other night watchmen were stunned. He himself said that he would go down and fight with the seniors, so why did he write a self-criticism? 30,000 words. What's the difference between this and killing them? The middle-aged man shrugged, with a serious look on his face. I have told you many times that fighting alien species is not a child's play. Even the weakest alien species cannot be taken lightly. As he spoke, he took out a pack of cigarettes from his arms, lit it, and slowly exhaled wisps of white smoke. As a captain, I was immediately confused by this appearance. When I get back, I will also write an article about my experience in fighting alien species. And then remember it. The others stared wide-eyed, not knowing why. Seeing the puzzled expressions of the team members, the middle-aged man said calmly, I am a third-order awakened person, but to be honest, I am not able to participate in this battle. What? The team members were also dumbfounded, not understanding why the captain would say such words. The third-order awakened can already solve the sea-level alien species alone, and participate in the battle against the B-level alien species. Not even the captain. How can it be? Perhaps in our eyes, this battle is very simple and easy, and we can even taunt in our free time while avoiding attacks. The middle-aged man said slowly. But it is precisely this that has led to a misunderstanding in our thinking. Misunderstanding. That's right, we ignored the strength of the boy in white and the alien species. He shook his head helplessly. I once killed a B-level alien species together with other night watchmen in the department. That alien species is very strong, but compared with the Warhammer alien species in front of me, it is more than a little bit inferior in terms of attack and speed. Speaking of this, the middle-aged man stopped talking. But the other team members understood now. What the captain wanted to tell them was, the alien below, it's grade A. How is this possible? A team member said in disbelief. Captain, you mean that senior in white at the bottom has the strength to kill A-level aliens? That's right. The middle-aged man nodded, and it was easy to kill. If not for taunting, the Warhammer xenomorph was probably dead long ago. Although this is shocking, but that is the reality. In fact, if you look at it for a long time, you will find that while the swordsman in white is taunting, he will defuse the attack of this Warhammer alien every time, so that it does not cause any substantial damage to the surroundings. This alone can only be achieved by those who are awakened at the 5th level or above. But how could there be a 5th order awakened person here? Isn't the night watchman with such strength already sent by the secretary to participate in those things? The middle-aged man looked down in pain. Although the white-clothed swordsman wore a funny mask, from all indications, the other party seemed to be a teenager. After a while, he said slowly, when the battle is over, you will be responsible for collecting information about that Warhammer alien. Got it, Captain. This alien species has never been included in the department, it is the first time it has appeared, and its rank is conservatively A-level, as for the others. At this time, a member of the team looked to the side and suddenly asked, Captain, is that B-level alien you killed that you told us every day before, like that over there? What? The middle-aged man froze for a moment, and looked in the direction the team member pointed. Sure enough, a mutilated praying mantis variant lay quietly in the ruins, no signs of life. FK, he couldn't help but swear. It really is. Many heterogeneous species are not unique individuals in the abyss, and some of them may exist in many, or even hundreds. However, within the same species, there is generally not much difference in strength. Then this praying mantis variant is estimated to be B-level. Captain, there is another corpse over there, it's a bastard-type alien, and it belongs to the B-level range. Listen to the constant reports of the team members. The middle-aged man just felt a little dazed, and he muttered, one person killed 2 B-level alien species, and played with a new A-level alien species that was not included in the palm of his hand. The most important thing is that he is a boy. Who? When did the night watchman come out with such a character? Yes, with a sword. The middle-aged man suddenly thought of something. Could it be the one that Speaker Wong said at the time? In a few minutes, Lin Tien almost used all the words he could use on the hammer. Boom! The Warhammer alien swung the hammer almost frantically and smashed it at Lin Tien. When you were about to touch, facing a hammer that could sink a mountain, Lin Tien flipped lightly with his backhand, and the edge of his sword crossed a line of artistic conception of time. When the giant hammer fell, it was like being caught in a giant net, and the power was dispersed into countless small parts, turning into ripples and spreading around until it dissipated completely. Lin Tien struck out another sword, the sword's edge flashed with gray and white sword intent, and the Warhammer alien was pushed back several meters. He took out his phone calmly, looked at the time on it. Well, I played with you for 4 minutes. Tired of playing. It's time to end this farce. The Warhammer alien was also aware of this, and it clenched the sledgehammer tightly with both hands. The face without facial features began to sag downward. Look carefully, that is it roaring. I see. It's not that this alien has no facial features, but it's just covered by the gray mucus covering the surface. But none of that matters anymore. Lin Tien stretched his waist, yawned and said, there are still people waiting for me outside, so I can't make her anxious. Roar! The Warhammer alien responded, and the sarcoma-covered sledgehammer suddenly opened a scarlet eyeball. The eyeball rolled a few times, and finally fixed its vision on the body of the Warhammer alien. Immediately afterwards, the Warhammer alien seemed to be echoed. Pustules suddenly swelled up all over its body, and then festered into rotten substances, which were transported along the connection with the giant hammer. Time passed by every minute and every second. In the end, the body of the Warhammer alien had shriveled up, but the sledgehammer had doubled in size. No wonder. Lin Tien stroked his chin and looked around. Only then did he realize. It turns out that the hammer is the body. No wonder there is something like an umbilical cord between these two things. It was only then that he figured it out. Why insulting a hammer would make this alien so furious? To scold the hammer is to scold itself. That's enough. Lin Tien's expression gradually became serious. It's time to end. The voice fell. He slowly raised his long sword. In an instant, Xiaoyao's sword intent soared into the sky, and the situation changed. Under the astonished eyes of the night watchmen watching the battle above, the vast sword intent condensed into a long sword several meters high, which was held in Lin Tien's hand through the air. Next moment, the sword has fallen. With the howling wind, the entire sky seemed to be rendered by this sword. The cloud-filled sword intent swayed from the sky, and the sword energy hung horizontally for miles away. When returning to God, after finally getting through the forward swing, the Warhammer alien that was about to amplify the move was already wiped out with a single sword. Not, is it over? A night watchman was on the spot in a daze, not knowing what happened at all. The middle-aged man snuffed out the cigarette in his hand, nodded slowly, well, it's over. This is the end. The other eyes were full of disbelief. Kill an A-level alien with one sword. When did such a ruthless person appear in the younger generation of the Night Watchmen? If it is the older generation, maybe it can explain it. After all, today's Chairman Wang, the director of the Tian City Night Patrol Division, and various seniors can do it. But now it seems, whether it was the voice or the makeup of the other party, they were obviously not too different in age from them. A young man with such terrifying strength. Only the middle-aged man had the answer in his heart. Because of his team, only his captain participated in that meeting. Therefore, he also knew the evil swordsman that Chairman Wang and Director Zhang were talking about at that time. Didn't think so much. The middle-aged man waved his hand. It's time for us to deal with the follow-up. You are responsible for collecting the characteristics of the new alien species, and the rest is to rescue the ordinary people trapped in the floor. Mall Central. Looking at the Warhammer alien that was split in two, Lin Tien took out a black bandage from his clothes and wrapped it around the wooden sword. It's time for him to go. As early as 10 minutes ago, he had already noticed that other night watchmen were coming. The leader is a third-order awakener. But the strength of the other 4 players is much weaker, and only one has reached the second level. Probably no problem dealing with the usual C level. But if you want to kill the few that appeared from the crack today, as well as the dozens of low-level aliens that suddenly rushed out halfway, I'm afraid it's not enough. Lin Tien put the wooden sword on his back again. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, a middle-aged man walked straight towards him. As for the 4 team members around him, they went to rescue ordinary people trapped in the ruins. The middle-aged man took off the black face scarf on his face, put his right fist on his chest, and said respectfully, "The captain of the Blue Sky Night Watchman team, Long Weo, may I ask your excellency?" A member of the Red Moon Night Watchman squad, Lin Tien. Sure enough, Long Weguo's eyes lit up, and he said excitedly, "I have long admired your name." Lin Tien was not surprised. After all, his 2 uncles had already spread his name throughout the Night Watch department. Except for some team members who are busy with training every day and may not know it, as long as they have gone to the headquarters for a meeting, there are not many who don't know the name Lin Tien. If it weren't for you today, I'm afraid this too and city center would suffer. Long Weo took a deep look at Lin Tien, with self-blame written all over his face. The third-order awakened person sounds strong at first glance, but it is actually strong enough. But in front of these certain alien species, it might not even be an appetizer. Recently, alien species have been active too frequently, and almost few cracks appear in such densely populated places. Long Weo continued, in recent years, the cracks that have appeared in the city have the highest level of alien species inside. Grade C. Who would have thought that 1A level and 2B level variants appeared this time today? Long Weo clenched his fists. He knew that if Lin Tien wasn't present today, it would only be their words. Even if you contact the branch immediately to send a stronger night watchman over. But what about the blank time in between? As long as these few alien species rush out of the mall, the entire city center will experience a bloodbath. If that happens, it will be a great disaster for everyone in Tian City. There's been something strange recently. Something might happen. You can contact Silly. The awakened ones above the 4th level may be busy recently. There are 5 days left before the recovery of the gods, and even these alien species are starting to get restless. Have even the long-standing laws been broken? It jumped from C level to 2B level and 1A level in one breath. This is not a star. I see. I will report these matters to the higher-ups, just like you said. There may be big things happening recently. He looked complicated. Does Siri know? I can only scratch the surface of this kind of thing. Long Weo grinned. As early as a year ago, Silly seems to have given certain tasks to many awakened people above the 4th and 5th ranks, even those in our city. The same is true of Director Zhang. Lin Tien raised his eyebrows. Uncle Zhang is in there too. It seems to be. After all, Uncle Zhang is a 6th-level awakened person, one of the pillars of the Great Shah. Do you know anything specific? Lin Tien asked. Long Weo shook his head. I don't know, but after that, these high-level awakened people seldom go on missions. They seem to have nothing to do every day, but they are actually doing one thing all the time. I don't know the specifics, but I heard that it is. He paused, and said firmly, watch. Watch. Lin Tien thought deeply when he heard these 2 words. Why keep watch? Could it be that they are monitoring something? Is it a different species, or those gods who have not yet awakened? Half an hour. He nodded. I see. If this happens again, just come to me and I will solve it. Hearing this sentence, Long Weo looked at Lin Tien with the eyes of a monster. Is this what an 18-year-old boy said? Long Weo smiled wryly. He felt that he had lived in vain for decades. After being an awakener for nearly 20 years, in the end it was not as good as a teenager who had been awakened for less than a month. Just as he was thinking, he suddenly noticed that Lin Tien, who had been standing there, had left. No, how should I find you? Lin Tien stopped suddenly, thought for a while, turned around and took out his mobile phone. Sorry, forgot. Add AV message, I'll scan you. Long Weo. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe. Chapter 41. Outside the mall, the area with a radius of tens of meters has been shrouded in a light blue light. This is an enchantment-type forbidden object discovered by the Night Watchmen in the Abyss Plane. It is usually used when fighting aliens in the city. Did someone enter the mall just now? Sure, otherwise, where do you think this blue enchantment came from? The old man at home is still trapped inside. Let me go in. My mother is over 70 years old, and her legs and feet are inconvenient. Take care of yourself first. Someone inside is already taking care of those monsters. It's too early for those people to be caught. If they are not rescued, it can only show that they are unlucky. A large group of people surrounded outside the barrier. They did not evacuate with the crowd because there were family members and friends who were trapped inside and did not come out. But no matter how they begged, the people from the surrounding police departments didn't intend to let them in. Let these people in now at this juncture. Undoubtedly, it will add chaos to those night watchmen who are responsible for solving the alien species. Once the alien species in the shopping mall break the barrier and rush into the city center, tens of thousands of families will be broken by then. Perform official duties, please cooperate. A policeman pressed the brim of his hat, and cooperated with 2 other colleagues to draw a cordon outside the barrier. Zhang Ling's eyes reflected the blue light of the enchantment, and she couldn't help but clenched her dusty dress tightly with her hands, with a worried expression. There will be nothing wrong. At this time, the mall no longer heard the sound of fierce fighting. This means the battle is over. But now, no one has come out of it. No, where did you say that Lin Tien went? Yeah, we escaped after a lot of hard work. Why did he disappear alone? That kind of selfish person probably escaped with the crowd in the first place. Maybe he was already hiding under the covers and crying. Don't say that. What if someone doesn't come out alive? We all escaped under the nose of the alien species because we cooperated with each other through adversity. Lin Tien. Just stay inside. Zhang Ling looked at the students who were talking with a sullen face, and said angrily, what nonsense are you talking about? The sudden change made those students feel a little overwhelmed for a while. They didn't dare to look Zhongling directly in their eyes, and said with a guilty conscience, "Why are you so angry, aren't we right? Yes, the two of you were the closest before, maybe you still have a leg. Why do you stand up for that kind of person? It's not because your partner died. You feel uncomfortable," a few people said in a strange way. At this time, a familiar voice sounded. "It's very nice of you all to come out." Hearing this voice, Zhongling was stunned. She stared blankly out of the crowd. Lin Tien had changed the mask and the white clothes back to their original clothes at some point. The whole person ran from the opposite direction of the mall as if nothing had happened, with a faint smile on his face. Lin Tien, why did you run out from there?" a classmate asked. Faced with this kind of question, Lin Tien just scratched his head and apologized. "At that time, when such a big crack came out, I was terrified. Then I saw people running away around me, so I followed them out." "Oh, then you still have the nerve to come back." The few classmates who were the favorite just now snorted coldly. They were almost killed by the xenomorphs inside. This kid was fine and ran out so smoothly. "Why? Do you know how so many of us escaped? We almost died inside. You still have the face to come back. A coward who ran away. Everyone understand cowards, such selfish, thick-skinned people. If it really comes to the end of the world, such people are traitors. You'd better go. Don't say you know us in the future. Just like you, a coward who abandoned your companions, you might as well die inside." The voice fell. Zhongling clenched his fists and looked coldly at the student who spoke. "It can be next second." A punch suddenly flew from another direction and hit the man's face, knocking him to the ground in embarrassment. "Ah!" The person who spoke let out a painful cry with his face twisted, and then fell to the ground with nosebleeds. He covered his red and swollen nose with both hands, and was about to curse, but when he saw the person who made the attack, he was suddenly stunned. White Wind. Zhongling was a little surprised. She originally thought of teaching the person who spoke rudely by herself. But she didn't expect someone to be one step faster than her, let alone by Fang who did it. The name of the person who fell to the ground and cried out in pain was Song Quan. His family was an upstart, and with a little money, he often pretended to be aggressive. Song Quan clutched his bleeding nose, his arrogance disappeared immediately after seeing Bai Feng. He struggled to get up and said awkwardly, "Brother Bai, what are you doing?" "That's right, Brother Bai, you don't need to stand up for that villain who ran away halfway and left us all in the box. I can't blame Brother Bai, that person is just skipping classes at school." The few people who spoke were those who played better with Song Quan on weekdays. But they dare not speak too harshly. After all, the other party is Bai Feng. How could a nouveau riche compare with this kind of wealthy family? Bai Feng seemed to ignore other people's words. He looked at Song Quan who stood up, and cursed angrily, "Control your mouth, you have no right to speak of anyone. It's not Baiga. Apologize." "No, Brother Bai, it's obviously him." Before Song Quan could finish speaking, Bai Feng punched him again. "I asked you to apologize." This scene stunned everyone around. What happened? Is this still the gentle and elegant young Master Bai? For a selfish coward, even at the expense of destroying the image that he has established for a long time. The others showed conflicted expressions, and after looking at each other a few times, they moved away from Bai Feng one by one. The way they looked at Bai Feng also changed slightly at this moment. If it was gratitude and admiration before, so now there is only incomprehension and alienation. Song Quan didn't understand why Bai Feng behaved like this. He covered his red and swollen right cheek, and wanted to explain. But Bai Feng didn't give him any chance at all. Some people are still eating and drinking at school at the age of 18, while some people are already holding a sword at the age of 18 to fight against alien species for the Great Shah. At this age of prosperity. But he was able to suppress the pride in his heart, and chose to stand in the shadows, silently guarding the safety of them. And there are tens of thousands of such people in Great Shah. They blocked their lives and bet everything. They are the heroes of Great Shah. Now, in his opinion, the night watchman is like a never-ending firework in the dark. But try to snuff them out. Not those alien species from the abyss, but ignorant people. When I got home, it was already late at night. I'll recite it here for you, okay? Lin Tien patted Zhongling behind him, and said softly, "It's your home, come down quickly." For a long time, No response. The sound of soft breathing came from behind him. This girl, Lin Tien shook his head helplessly, actually fell asleep on him. After all, she is a girl who has not yet awakened. Because her father is Zhang Chengwen, after the shopping mall incident, she went to the department to make some simple records and comprehensive inspections. After going back and forth, time was busy until the night. Lin Tien vaguely remembered after Zhang Ling walked into the physical examination room. Uncle Zhang is not as usual. If on weekdays, even if his precious daughter has scratched the skin a little, he, a serious daughter, might not be in a hurry to directly contact the best auxiliary awakener. This time, he just stood not far away and watched. His deep eyes were full of guilt and self-blame. Lin Tien and Uncle Zhang looked at each other for a long time, then nodded to each other. Finally, after confirming that Zhang Ling was only slightly scratched and overworked, Zhang Chengwen left. During this period, he did not speak to Zhang Ling. Ding! The elevator doors open. Lin Tien withdrew his thoughts, walked into the elevator and pressed the button for the 16th floor. The elevator slowly ascended. It's very quiet around. Lin Tien could clearly feel Zhang Ling's soft breathing, like a well-behaved kitten. After thinking about those trivial things in my mind, only then did he realize that there seemed to be something soft on his back. You don't have to think about it. It's an amazing feeling. It's like, more comfortable than a massage chair anyway. Zhang Ling is very light, and there is no pressure at all for Lin Tien now. He could even treat Zhang Ling as a sandbag, throw it to a height of 40 or 50 meters, and finally catch it firmly. Or turn her back and forth in your hand like a wooden stick, these are all fine. But Lin Tien knew it in his heart. Once this is done, there may be an extra sixth-order awakened person chasing and killing him in the future. Well, Zhang Ling, who was sleeping soundly, subconsciously rubbed Lin Tien's shoulder, her slender hair hanging down, making his nose itchy. The 16th floor has arrived. The elevator doors open automatically. Lin Tien supported Zhang Ling with one hand, and took out the key of Uncle Yang's house from his pocket with the other. Don't ask him where he got the key. If I really ask, it was given by Uncle Zhang himself. Uncle Zhang sent someone to hand it over to him before he left from the night watch division in the afternoon. At that moment, together with the keys handed over to him, Uncle Zhang recognized him. Open the door of Uncle Yang's house. Lin Tien carefully put Zhang Ling on the sofa, and then took off the pair of slip-on sandals. Zhang Ling didn't wear socks, and her white and tender feet were stained with dust, making them a little dirty. At this time, he found out. The opponent's ankle was already red and swollen. It must have been sprained when the ground subsided. If it were someone else, she might not be able to walk for a long time, but she still endured it. When the two were alone, Zhang Ling suddenly squatted on the ground for a long time, and finally asked Lin Tien to carry her back. I guess it was so painful that I couldn't walk. You girl, you are trying to be brave again. Lin Tien looked a little helpless, thanks to my unique research on this. As he spoke, he picked up Zhang Ling's swollen ankle with one hand. Hey! As soon as he touched it, the corner of Lin Tien's mouth curled into a wicked smile, but it soon returned to normal. Cough cough cough. He's a decent guy. The skin is smooth, tender and pink. The feet are so small that one hand can hold them completely, like peeled eggs, perfectly round. For sprains like this, if no bones are injured, as long as the technique is in place, a couple of pinches can relieve most of the pain. Lin Tien pressed down slightly with both hands. Well, feeling the pain, Zhang Ling's little face immediately changed slightly, and she groaned in pain. It's time to say it or not. This was the first time he touched a girl's feet. Soft like a piece of tofu. I just don't know. Cubed. It's okay, at least it's not fragrant. I do not know how long it has been. Lin Tien came out of the bathroom. He wet the towel with warm water and rubbed Zhang Ling's whole body, including all the dusty areas. Wipe it through clothes. Okay, pretty clean. After doing this, Lin Tien picked up Zhang Ling and walked into her bedroom. In his impression, it seems that he only entered Zhang Ling's bedroom when he was 6 or 7 years old. At that time, he took her out every day to pretend to be crazy and scare passers-by. Not to be outdone, Zhang Ling would drag him into his bedroom every year after school, saying he wanted to play house. Zhang Ling becomes a mother. He acts like a dog. Lin Tien. When he was older, he never went in again when he reached junior high school. The reason is that Zhongling won't let in. That age is when most teenagers and girls are exposed to something awesome for the first time. No matter what he said, Zhongling wouldn't let him in anyway. Turn on the lights. Lin Tien put Zhongling on the bed and gently covered her with a quilt. The room was clean and tidy with no smell. The trash can has no paper and no garbage. Just when Lin Tien turned around to leave, he suddenly noticed that there seemed to be several interesting comic books on Zhongling's table. The specific name, I'll leave it to your imagination. It's absolutely fine to say it's a certain hot-blooded thief king. P.S. The author is very innocent and has never read anything, so I can't tell you the title of the book. Real. Arrive home. Lin Tien, who had nothing to do, picked up the wooden sword in his hand again. There are still 5 days left. With his current strength alone, it would be a fool's errand to deal with the gods far above the sky. Perhaps only in these 5 days will the number of swings of the sword reach 10,000. Only then can we have a chance to survive. At this time, he suddenly received a message on his mobile phone. Lin Tien picked it up and took a look. It's from White Wind. They added the V letter in the afternoon. Talk about it. Lin Tien was a little surprised by B Fang's punch at that time. I didn't expect him to stand up for this. That incident ended with Song Quan bowing his head and apologizing to him, bringing an end to the farce. But the price is that B Fang's character has been questioned. He is said to be a hypocrite, a villain who is rich but has no moral values. Stand up for a coward. This also caused his reputation in the school to drop from 5 stars to 1 star in one fell swoop. Have you and classmate Zhang gotten home safely? On the other end of the phone, B Fang asked. Lin Tien typed a short line and pressed the send button. I owe you a favor. After sending this sentence, he stopped looking at his phone. Words are no longer expressions, but actions. Lin Tien picked up the wooden sword and entered the realm of unity in an instant. Swing the sword once and get the reward, a sword intention. Swing the sword once and get the reward, a sword intention. Almost. It's almost there. A man wearing a strange sacrificial mask stood barefoot on a dark altar. The great God we follow is about to wake up. Walk with God. He looked crazy, and through the mask he could vaguely see a pair of bloodshot eyes. Below the altar, 11 apostles wearing animal masks knelt on one knee, behaved piously, and kept muttering something silently. The Lord God comes to the world, brings new life, and cleanses all the sins in the world. When the midnight moon spreads its wings and rises high into the sky, we will offer sacrifices and wait for the light of redemption. The voice fell. The Yaobei altar suddenly glowed with blood-red light. The priest of the divine religion had a faint look in his eyes, tapped the ground with his staff, and slowly turned around. Below the altar, hundreds of innocent men and women had their limbs tied and imprisoned in the blood-stained pit. There was despair in their eyes, and their cries were choked in their throats. The priest's eyes were cold and had long lost his humanity. He quietly looked down at everyone in the pit, smiled and said, "Don't panic. You will be the heroes of the gods coming to the world. This is your honor. Don't worry, God will redeem you. Walk with God. From the recovery of the gods, the countdown is 4 days. Close black lens bracket. The first ray of sunlight in the morning shone into the tattered balcony. Lin Tien slowly withdrew from the realm of the unity of man and sword, and there was clarity in his eyes again. Call. He exhaled slowly. In one night, he swung his sword nearly 1,000 times. But this is far from what he expected. 4 days left. The uneasiness in Lin Tien's heart became more and more intense. Not enough, not enough. Just relying on this strength to kill the gods. Totally impossible. He wiped the sweat from his face and kept swinging the wooden sword in his hand. The wind of the sword blew past and shattered a whole tile. The tiny fragments slid across Lin Tien's cheeks. Tick. A drop of blood fell. The wooden sword in Lin Tien's hand paused, and he touched the scratches on his face with his right hand. The insignificant pain woke him up. Yes, some are too impatient. Hey, don't put too much pressure on yourself, otherwise your sword will be unstable. Close black lens bracket. Even the system, which had been silent for a long time, couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't help but come out to persuade. Lin Tien looked at the sword in his hand and murmured, God, Are they really strong? Very strong. Close black lens bracket. They were the former masters of the vast universe, and gods were undoubtedly the strongest creatures in the past. But gods are also divided into 3, 6 or 9 levels. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. You are not the only one in Daxia. Close black lens bracket. That's a good thing to say. Lin Tien's tense expression relaxed a lot. He opened the glass door of the balcony and walked out of the bedroom. Believe in yourself, believe in the system, and believe in the people around you. Close black lens bracket. At least for now, comma. Next door, Uncle Yang's house. Zhongling snorted softly and opened his sleepy eyes. Am I home yet? Her memory still lingers on when she asked Lin Tien to carry her on his back near night yesterday. After that, maybe because he was too tired, he fell asleep on Lin Tien. Yes, fell asleep. Right, what right? Wrong. Zhongling sat up suddenly and lifted off his soft quilt. The dress she wore yesterday has been replaced by a set of pink silk pajamas. Even the sprained ankle was inexplicably healed. No way. Next second, Zhongling's fair face turned red to the base of her ears, like a ripe peach. She covered herself in the quilt, and it seemed that 2 mosquito coils were constantly spinning in her eyes. No way, my clothes didn't fall off, and my body was still so clean. Is it possible that you have been touched all over the place? Is it possible that what should be done? She should be an adult now. I became an adult 2 months ago. That's good, anyway, I will. Zhongling just relaxed, and less than a second later, his nerves tensed again. No. Zhongling, what are you talking about? She kept squeezing her face with both hands. Who said that bastard Lin Tien would touch her in the future? Not allowed in the future. Thinking of this, Zhongling threw off the quilt, washed his face and brushed his teeth, put on his school uniform and ate in one go. What usually takes half an hour to complete can be done in less than 10 minutes today. Zhongling sat on the sofa, raised her tender feet and put on a pair of white socks with a pattern of little white rabbits. Everything is ready. She took a deep breath and pushed open the door. When he came to the corridor, Zhongling suddenly became nervous and closed the door carefully so that there was no sound. Okay, that's it, she encouraged herself in her heart. But just 2 steps out, Zhongling felt that something was not quite right. It's not right. Why are you so careful? It was obvious that he wanted to ask Lin Tien for clarification. Just leave. Arriving at the door of Lin Tien's house, he walked in without thinking. At the same time, Lin Tien had already taken a shower, and was sitting on the sofa wrapped in a towel. The two looked at each other. The air seemed to freeze at this moment. 5 minutes later, after changing his clothes, Lin Tien walked out of the bedroom. Zhongling folded her hands, sat on the sofa with her feet crossed, and looked at Lin Tien with a hostile expression. Pervert. Lin Tien, what the hell am I? No. This is his own home. You don't even knock on the door. Although there is no door, is this really reasonable? Is there still Wang Fa? Zhongling pouted, looked at Lin Tien, and said timidly, what did you do yesterday? Me yesterday. Lin Tien's face hurt. I didn't do anything yesterday. Do not believe. Zhongling glanced aside. Then what's wrong with my clothes? I thought it was too dirty so I took it off, but I didn't take off what I should have. I saw that some parts of my body were dirty, and I also wiped it with a towel for you. Lin Tien said very seriously, his eyes were sincere and innocent. Others might really believe it. But the person in front of him was Zhongling. The two of them put together and basically did all the things they shouldn't do, except they didn't do what they should do. Could she not know what kind of person Lin Tien was? You're talking nonsense, bring it in truthfully. Really, Lin Tien said innocently. I swear, I closed my eyes when I changed your clothes, so I guarantee I didn't see anything. Really? Zhongling stared at Lin Tien dubiously. Real. Lin Tien nodded vigorously. Then I can barely trust you. Zhongling lowered his hands from his chest. In that case, are you going to school today? Go. Lin Tien nodded. The scenery of practicing swords on the rooftop is good. That's fine, let's go now and catch up. After Zhongling finished speaking, she got up and dragged Lin Tien to the door. No, it's time for me to tell you after you finished talking. What? Lin Tien chuckled. Linger, about the things on the table in your bedroom. Presumably, you don't want others to know. Gia, Gia, Gia. Tie-in number 1 middle school, grade 2, class 4. The classroom was silent, and the atmosphere was even permeable. Lin Tien stood at the door. The head teacher Li Yanfang was standing on the podium. The two looked at each other and neither of them spoke. Li Yanfang vaguely remembered that just a week ago at 3 o'clock in the morning, a user named Lin Mo Junshui made a call to her ruthlessly. The content is roughly, "Oh, I can't do it, teacher, I have a stomachache, I'm going to take a day off. Arrive at school on time at 8 o'clock the next day." Then, 7 days later, this classmate stood in front of him as if nothing had happened. "All I know is a stomach ache." Those who didn't know thought the other person had died of cancer. Li Yanfang's face was expressionless, but the chalk she held in her hand shattered. 8 o'clock. Lin Tien looked down at the time on his phone and said with a bright smile, "On time." Li Yanfang, quasi-Nima. She had the urge to curse, but out of the most basic teacher's ethics, she held it back. "I took a day off 7 days ago because I had a stomachache, but I came back 7 days later." "I really love you, Lin Tien." Li Yanfang smiled softly. The ghastly killing intent emanating from his body was even more terrifying than the Warhammer mutant yesterday. Lin Tien swallowed. One of the rumors of the class. Li Yanfang lived in the wilderness 4 years ago and killed 2 tigers, 4 bears, and 18 Madagascar penguins with her bare hands before swimming back to Tian City from the South Pacific. 2 great white sharks were killed along the way. I used to think they were making it up too outrageously. Now it seems, it may be true. Fortunately, the head teacher is just an ordinary person, so he is about to wake up. I'm afraid he's not the one who killed the god. Seeing Lin Tien didn't speak, Li Yanfang sighed, "Go back and sit down." "Okay." Lin Tien nodded obediently and quickly returned to his familiar corner. Li Yanfang watched the other party walking past her and said calmly, Lin Tien, you are really not a teacher. I want to tell you that if you don't want to go to this school, you should stop studying as soon as possible. There is no point in staying here. If you can't get into college like this, you might as well go out and find a way out as soon as possible." "Don't worry, teacher, I have a way out." Lin Tien didn't know why, but he felt the urge to sleep as soon as he sat on the chair. "Is there a way out? Enter the factory or just hang out?" Li Yanfang looked at Lin Tien with a complicated expression. She said after a long time, "Going to school is not the only way out, but it is the easiest. 360 lines, and he will be the #1 scholar." Lin Tien nodded and replied, "My way out is to save the world." As soon as these words came out, the whole class could hardly hold back. "Ha ha 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 ha, I was teased. Lin Tien, you are fascinated by the novel, and you are saving the world. How to save the world? Kill those monsters outside, or do you just sleep every day and be a hero in your dreams? Didn't you hear that B Fang held a party in the city center yesterday, and a bunch of monsters happened to appear there, and guess what? Lin Tien was the first to run away. I've heard about it too. It's all spread." Less than 5 seconds after the monster came out, I looked back and saw that Lin Tien had disappeared. Ha 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 ha. It's not bad to not be a traitor, but to save the world. Also, B Fang from class 1 beat up Song Quan from class 3 for this person, standing up for someone like Lin Tien. Once the topic was mentioned, everyone started discussing it endlessly. Li Yanfang's face was covered with black lines. She slapped the blackboard with her right hand and said, "Quiet." In an instant, everyone swallowed the unfinished words in their stomachs. Needle drop can be heard. She glanced around the class, and her frown suddenly appeared. "This kind of thing is forbidden to be discussed in the class from now on, and, this is not a funny thing." Li Yanfang's voice was stern and brooked no disobedience. "This is over. Now let's talk about the school's major events." She opened her lesson plan and said, "Tomorrow, the 1st and 2nd grade students in our school will start military training together. Everyone must have experienced it last year, so I won't go into some basic precautions." Lin Tien sits in the last row. In fact, he knows much better than the teacher about these things. Not long ago, because of the online video, there was also a wave of enthusiasm for being a soldier. Many people deliberately served as conscripts for 2 years in order to use this status to hype and attract people's attention. When I came back, I started my business without saying a word. Veterans barbecue, so the veteran driver came here. After a short operation, the veteran's gold content directly dropped by a notch. In order to make the military training organized by the school more quality. Once the military and the Night Watch division combine, let the Night Watchman be the instructor directly. The qualifications are not only enough, but also much more professional than some conscripts. These are what he heard from Uncle Wang before. Certainly. The fact that the instructor was replaced by a night watchman was carried out not only in Tian City where he was located, but almost throughout Daxia. So the school does not know about it, including teachers and students. Since they are all night watchmen, it is much more convenient for him to go to the rooftop to swing the sword. At this time, Lin Tien's cell phone rang suddenly. He frowned slightly, then picked it up and took a look. Long Weo. Lin Tien clicked on the V letter. What happens? Ding. Long Weo responded with a voice almost instantly. He pressed the Bluetooth on his face and pressed the 18-second voice bar. An anxious voice came from inside. A crack in the abyss appeared in the northern part of the city. It's bigger than the crack in the shopping mall yesterday. 2 monster type A-level aliens. 2. Hearing this, Lin Tien's eyebrows jumped. And then, Long Weo sent a video. In the content, 2 alien species with a height of tens of meters are constantly wreaking havoc on the street, and the stalls on the road are like cotton candy in their eyes. Need it? Put it in your mouth and swallow it. And below, Lin Tien not only discovered the Blue Sky team led by Long Weo. Even Captain Gao, that is, his Red Moon squad, was there. Besides, there seemed to be 2 night watchmen standing on top of the 2 short buildings. Their aura is obviously different from others. A 4th-order awakener. Think about it too. 2 A-level giant alien species with a height of more than 10 meters are almost comparable to Godzilla. No matter what, it is estimated that the entire northern part of the city will be affected. I see. Lin Tien replied briefly. The northern part of the city is not too far from here. According to his speed, running is probably much faster than taking a taxi. Uncle Zhang and the others are all watching. The 4th-order awakener is probably the limit that the night watchman can send out today. Jingle bell. The get-out-of-class bell rang. Li Yanfang did not press the class and walked out of the classroom on time. While others are talking, Lin Tien opened the window and jumped upstairs on the spot. How dare you say he is so embarrassed? He ran away by himself and left the rest of the dozen or so people there. I heard from the class next door, Song Quan, that a strange species rushed towards them and almost wiped them out. Fortunately, a white-clothed swordsman rescued them in time. That swordsman you said, is he the one who was hotly searched before? He's so handsome, I really want to know who he is. I know it's probably not your turn, but it's Lin Tien who abandons his companions and is afraid of death. This kind of person might as well jump off the stairs. In the class, several students gathered around and discussed in a low voice. The voice just fell. A scream was heard outside. Ah! Someone jumped off the building. The voice was harsh, and everyone immediately looked out the window. Lin Tien, who was standing there, had disappeared in place at some point. A window was open in front of him, swinging back and forth. It must have just been opened. No way. The heart of the classmate who said this just now jumped into his throat. You can't really jump off a building, can you? Their class is on the 2nd floor. Although it is not high, if you really want to jump down, you have to break something. The man looked terrified and hurried to the window to look down. I'm afraid that the other party will have a problem, and then blackmail him for money afterwards. Unfortunately, there is only a group of melon-eating people gathered below who heard the sound. And Lin Tien has completely disappeared in place. The other side. At this moment, Lin Tien has left the range of Tian number 1 middle school. He used his hands hard, and after a few simple jumps, he successfully reached the roof of a house. The northern part of the city is about 30 kilometers away. It may take 30 or 40 minutes by taxi. But with his current physical fitness, it only takes 15 minutes to forcefully run there. Lin Tien kept jumping above the floors, and appeared hundreds of meters away across several floors in the blink of an eye. He took out the funny face mask that he carried with him from his waist. It was an emergency, so he simply didn't put on his usual white clothes. Tian number One middle school is not located in the city center, but it is also in an area with dense traffic. Below the floor, soon someone found Lin Tien, who was walking on the roof. Spider-Man. Mom, it's Spider-Man. A little boy with eyes full of innocence excitedly grabbed his mother's hand and pointed towards the roof. The mother gently touched the little boy's head. There are only monsters in this world, how can there be Spider-Man? Mom sees that you have been hallucinating after playing too much recently, so my mother will enroll you in 2 extra tuition classes at night. Little boy. After discovering Lin Tien's figure, many people took out their mobile phones and started shooting. Damn, this is Superman. That mask, isn't this the one that was trending before? I remember it clearly. If this is recorded and posted, it will definitely be on the trending list. Isn't this what happened in the TV series? Why did it happen in real life? You are so nonsense, why don't you talk about reality and monsters? For a while, the appearance of Lin Tien attracted most people's attention. There are still 2 kilometers. After the words fell, he stopped on the edge of a building. Before he knew it, there was no one around. The entire street was deserted, and the atmosphere looked a bit bleak. Lin Tien guessed that they should have hid in a nearby shelter. There is an underground shelter built by the Night Watch Division and the military to avoid large alien species. Each place can accommodate at least 100,000 people. As far as shelters of this scale are concerned, there are no fewer than 100 shelters in Tian City alone. On the street, a blood-red satin moved without wind, drawing an invisible barrier around it. This is forbidden by the Night Watchman. Its level is higher than that of the blue space forbidden object in the shopping mall, and it belongs to the intermediate forbidden object. P.S. Forbidden items. Elementary, intermediate, advanced, special. This kind is specially used to target heterogeneous species above a level. Its range can even cover an area with a radius of 2 kilometers. Lin Tien slowly put his hands on the silk. In the next second, the blood-red satin seemed to have received some kind of induction. After trembling for a while, an entrance was automatically drawn in front of it. No time to think too much. Lin Tien walked towards the entrance. The moment he stepped into the enchantment, the surrounding scene and just had undergone earth-shaking changes. The originally desolate street is now full of devastation, and countless scrapped cars overturned in the middle of the road. The sky was dyed red by fire. A roar came from not far away, and 2 alien species that were tens of meters high recklessly destroyed the surrounding buildings. The ground trembled continuously, as if it was about to crack in the next second. Lin Tien's figure was as stable as a mountain, and he appeared 100 meters away with a sword light in the blink of an eye after taking a step. There, 2 indescribable alien species with fleshy balls all over their bodies spit out mucus and attacked an awakened person in the air together. That was the 4th Order Awakener sent by the Night Watch Division. At this moment, he was obviously overwhelmed by the attacks of the 2 alien species. When he was not paying attention, he was knocked to the ground by a thick tentacle, and crashed firmly into a broken building. The other side, Chen Haoshuan held his awakened object in his hand, and was healing an awakened person beside him. The other party was another 4th Order Awakener sent by the Night Watch Division. His clothes were torn, his whole body was soaked in blood, his waist was pierced severely by a steel bar, and he looked tragic. But the man's eyes were resolute. Xiao Chen, don't be busy. The man pushed Chen Haoshuan away. The 2 A-level aliens are beyond your jurisdiction. Here, just leave it to the 2 of us. He looked at all the wounded people around him and sighed silently. In the Blue Sky team, except for the Captain Long Weo who had a broken arm, which was regarded as a minor injury, almost all the other members were seriously injured by one of the alien species with corrosive liquid. There is no good place on the body, and the flesh is festered. If it is not treated, I am afraid that it will not be long before it will die. Looking at the Red Moon team, the overall situation is not much better. Due to excessive use of abilities, Captain Gao Yuan's eyes bleed, almost to the point of blindness. Chen Haoshuan broke 2 ribs, but he suppressed it in time with the special ability of his awakened object, so there was no serious problem. But others weren't so lucky. Headed by Yang Qing, everyone suffered a lot of injuries, and they looked dispirited and dispirited. You are still young, and you have a long way to go in the future, so you can't just say it here for nothing. As the 4th level awakened person said, Flames ignited in the palm of his hand, and then resolutely pressed down on the wound on his waist. Startled, he gritted his teeth, endured the piercing pain, and forcibly stopped the bleeding in his own way. For a moment, his eyes were red, and he panted and said, "Captain Gao, Captain Long, you guys get out of the barrier later, we're here to fight these two beasts. It's impossible to let these beasts escape from here. This is the duty and mission of the Night Watchmen. Better than us, there are more important things. We can't hold back the whole Night Watchmen, even if we die. We have to keep these two beasts here." The fourth-level awakened person in front of him is named Li Chu, and he is the leader of the Night Patrol Department's Combat Department. The other is also a team leader named Zhao Shan. The two joined the Night Watch Division at the same time, and it has been nearly 30 years now. He was seriously injured in the battle against alien species before, which made it impossible for his strength to step into the fifth level for the rest of his life. Zhao Shan had the same experience as him, but because he was polluted in the abyss plane, the awakened object was damaged, and he had to rely on medicine to maintain it all year round. Facing two almost desperate aliens, without even thinking about it, the two resolutely stood in front of the others. "You are all under 30, and you have a promising future. If you want to say that you are at the top, it is not your turn." Li Chu laughed miserably, and his whole body began to ignite raging flames. The high temperature of thousands of degrees instantly illuminates the surroundings. Logically speaking, his awakening material has been exhausted long ago. Now it is ignited again, using life as fuel. When the flame burns out, it means that his life is gone. Now that the crisis is approaching, it is impossible to let these two beasts go bad. "Old boy, are you okay there?" Chu Shan's gaze was as sharp as an inch, and the flames burning all over his body were as high as 100 feet. The flames soaring into the sky forced the two alien species back. The tentacles that had just been stretched out immediately retracted when they felt the flame ignited with life. Just a little contaminated, and then let out a painful cry. The two alien species roared, and their dense eyeballs looked at the burning man who was approaching him step by step with fear. Among the ruins, after feeling the hot temperature, Zhao Shan, who had disappeared for a long time, burst out from the pile of stones. In an instant, countless broken stones wrapped his whole body, forming a pair of rock armor. Holding it with one hand, he firmly held a battle axe made of gravel. "I can't. After so many years, you have two more partners than me in junior high school, what other points are you better than me?" Zhao Shan is not to be outdone. Gurgling blood flowed down his forehead. But he didn't care about it at all. His feet suddenly exerted force, smashed the ground, and fought towards another alien species with a battle axe in his hand. This moment, life is left behind by them. Duties and missions of the Night Watch Division. More than anything, the two old men who were nearly 60 years old seemed to be 40 years younger now. There is fire in the eyes. But the next second, Zhao Shan, who jumped into the air, only felt his shoulders sink. Before he could react, he was pressed down by a hand. "How can I fly?" As soon as Zhao Shan spoke, he saw a boy wearing a funny mask standing behind him. "Who are you?" His heart was filled with shock. The strength erupted from burning out life is almost infinitely close to the fifth level. At this moment, he was pressed down by the boy in front of him with one hand. Death is a trifle. The problem is that the face is gone. Lin Tien patted Zhao Shan's chest. "Old man, please rest first, Tian City Night Patrol Division still needs you. Be obedient, good boy." Zhao Shan, %. What words? What the hell are you talking about? After living most of my life, I finally pretended to be coercive. Without waiting for takeoff, I just gave up and pressed it down. I'm over 60 years old, for the sake of Daxia and the Night Watchman, I never married in my life. Is he easy? No way. Zhao Shan shook his head, and said stubbornly, "I don't want to risk my life if I don't want to. You go and put out the fire on that old man. Make a deal." Lin Tien nodded resolutely, "But senior, tell me that you two will receive treatment honestly, and you can't participate in any actions until you are done." "No problem." After confirming that there was no one around, Zhao Shan took off the rock armor without saying a word, and then sat down on the ground, panting heavily. "Okay, I have to give it to Li Chu. According to his current state, the fire will be gone within a few minutes." "I know senior." Lin Tien nodded in agreement, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Zhao Shan clutched the broken bone in his chest. Compared to the previous panic, now he calmed down a lot after seeing the young man in front of him coming. He knows who it is. Chairman Wang's nephew. The one who chopped down all the alien species in the city center with a single sword yesterday. Oh yes, I even turned an apostle of a divine religion into a vegetative state before. It's really scary. Ahead, Li Chu shouted loudly, his arrogance soared to the sky, and then he punched out. A punch mixed with Lai Yan raging flames forcibly blasted most of the alien's body into pieces. The flames consumed the crimson minced meat wriggling all over the ground. The alien roared loudly, trying to disperse the flames on its body. Just when Li Chu was about to give this beast a fatal blow, he only felt a sweetness in his throat and then spit out a big mouthful of blood. The blood is vaporized the moment it comes into contact with the flame. The right hand, which was already skinny, is now shriveled. Life is going to be burned. But Li Chu retreated instead of advancing, and stepped out with one step. The pillar of fire shattered the ground. Bastard, die for me, he roared. Then, the fire on his body suddenly went out. Yes, it's the kind that disappears in a flash. Soon, not even the blink of an eye. Li Chu. FK, where is Lao Su on fire? There should be some left over. Besides, Mie is not such an extermination method. Geneva, I just ignited. Li Chu cursed and tried to figure out what was going on. It stands to reason that the fire puts out others on the spot. But now, apart from his serious injuries, something is wrong. This fire was extinguished by someone. He looked back. I saw a young man slowly walking towards him, and the wooden sword in his hand seemed to exude endless coercion. Look up. Only then did Li Chu realize that he was wrapped in a vast sword intent. His flame was extinguished by that boy. After seeing the Xiaoyao sword intent standing between the sky and the earth, the two alien species with a height of tens of meters screamed and backed away. Die. They felt the breath of death on the giant sword. Are you the nephew of Speaker Wang? Li Chu stared intently at Lin Tien. I said, why didn't Zhao Shanren come? Senior Zhao has already gone to rest early. You can go too, I will take care of it here. Did that dog tell you to put me out? Li Chu took out a cigarette from his trouser pocket cursingly, then pinched it with 2 fingers, and lit the cigarette end. It's really that he loses face, and I also lose face. It was already about to die heroically. He took a big breath, and his complexion improved a bit. Then I'll leave it to you. Li Chu put his hands heavily on Lin Tien's shoulders, and walked back slowly after a long time. Watching the two seniors leave, Lin Tien's eyes sharpened immediately, and he looked at the 2 alien species who were fleeing in the desert. Want to run? The fire is out. The moment Gao Yuan watched the distant fire suddenly disappear, his whole mood fell to the bottom. Team leader Li is famous for his fire. Now that the fire is out, that person. Don't worry, he's fine. Not far away, Zhao Shan dragged his heavy body towards Gao Yuan. The others seemed to have anticipated something the moment they saw Zhao Shan. Long Weo hurriedly stepped forward to help him. Team leader Zhao, is Lin Tien here? These two are notoriously hot-tempered in Tian. Handling documents they may not. But when it comes time to fight, these 2 seniors in their 60s will probably have to rush forward. But now, the other one is just like a normal person. The only reason may be that Lin Tien was present. Zhao Shan nodded with a wry smile and leaned against a short stone wall. That kid is not an ordinary person. Yes, Long Weo felt the same way. After all, he saw with his own eyes yesterday that the other party casually killed an A-level alien species with an extremely contemptuous attitude. People like this need to be serious. There is a high probability that there will be no problem with 2 A-level mutants. Chen Haoshuan didn't waste any time, and hurriedly stepped forward and started to do simple processing for Zhao Shan with his own awakening object. While everyone was talking, Li Chu walked over from not far away with a depressed look on his face. His injuries were the most serious among all the people. At over 60 years old, an ordinary person might not be able to survive it in 10 seconds. Dekui is a 4th-level awakened person with a strong body and tenacious vitality. Li Chu had a cigarette in his mouth. After seeing that the others were still there, he said angrily, "No, you guys are so disobedient. Everyone looked at each other and fell silent. Seeing that no one spoke, Li Chu's tone gradually turned resentful. Long Weo, do you still want to be the captain? Your team member is about to be poisoned to death, take him back for treatment quickly. And you all, please lend a hand. We are not needed here. After he finished speaking, he endured the pain caused by the injury and helped a corroded team member to walk outside the barrier. Stop standing there and let's go. Zhao Shan dusted himself off and held up one person with each arm. You and I win this game. Everyone. Others were dumbfounded. Song Chu was stunned and immediately became dissatisfied. Can't you help someone if your arm is broken? See if I can help you. Hey, forget it. Seeing this, Yao Yuan hurriedly went up and stopped the two of them. The critical moment is to send these team members who have been corrupted by the alien species back to the department for medical treatment. You two team leaders will count this as a draw. How? The two didn't speak, seeming to acquiesce. Now that Lin Tien is here, there is no need for them to stay here anymore. What they have to do now is sending the wounded back to the department to deal with their injuries. The other side. The two giant beast-shaped aliens didn't hesitate at all. After noticing the giant sword that seemed to stand between heaven and earth, they ran back without looking back. Lin Tien naturally couldn't let these two things go back like this. The opponent is huge, and he can't wait to cross more than 100 meters in one step. But his speed shows no signs of slowing down either. He rushed out and turned into a sharp shadow, following the footsteps of the two alien species in the blink of an eye. An upward move with a sword. The sharp sword intent fell from the sky, hitting the two alien species below like a storm. The alien body was pitch black, with scarlet tumors crawling on the skin, which was extremely disgusting. The exposed organs were turned into pulp the moment they came into contact with the sword's will. The smelly, sticky black blood clung to the body, and before it could flow away, it was swallowed up by the sudden opening in the skin. Roar! One of the aliens was blinded by fear and wanted to turn around, only to find that one of his arms had been reduced to a bone by the sword at some point. It opened its big mouth full of fangs and roared, spitting out a pile of green liquid at Lin Tien. Faced with this situation, Lin Tien did not hide or dodge. Something shocking happened. When the corrosive liquid was less than half a meter away from him, it suddenly appeared in the air. Immediately afterwards, the pool of liquid was split into two instantly. And then, 2 transforms into 4, 4 transforms into 8. Until it was divided into countless parts and disappeared in this world. The alien was obviously frightened. Death forced it to restore some sanity. It whimpered and its huge figure stepped back. That's when I discovered it. The invisible giant sword just now appeared in front of the young man. Are you done? Lin Tien waved his arms. When this is done, I will destroy you on behalf of the moon. Alien. 3 minutes later, Lin Tien remained the same, skillfully taking out a white ribbon from his pocket and wrapping it around the wooden sword. This has almost become a habit of his. Wrap it up and carry it on your back for comfort. Look behind you again. The two giant alien species disappeared without a trace. Only a large area of dark slime was left on the ground. The cracks in the abyss gradually closed as the alien species were eliminated. Go through the barrier. Yang Qing had been waiting here for a long time. She was wearing a thick black coat, which seemed to be used to cover the wounds on her body. The captain asked me to wait for you here and recover the forbidden items. After she finished speaking, she reached out and took off the red satin. The barrier disappears. At a glance, the scene that just looked like ruins returned to its original state in the blink of an eye. The overturned and scrapped vehicle was parked on the roadside. Except that the streets were deserted, it was as if nothing had happened. This kind of space-based forbidden object is convenient. Otherwise, just repairing the damaged buildings in real life every year would be an astronomical expense. Yang Qing sighed, but the appearance of such forbidden objects often represents a different path between life and death. If Lin Tien hadn't arrived in time, maybe all of them will die there. I would rather trade my life for my life than put the alien species into reality. Where to go now? You can go back to school or go to the night patrol division to take notes. It's your choice. Yang Qing added, opening the door of a black car. Just call Division Zhang and describe it. It's not very important. Sister Qing, who do you think I am? Lin Tien sat in the back row. Uncle Wang once taught me that having power is to better serve the people, which is not the reason for me not to abide by the uniform of the secretary. I choose to go to the night watch division. You don't want to go back to school, right? Yang Qing rolled her eyes at him. It's not a big deal, just make a phone call and someone will handle it. No, Lin Tien refused and said extremely seriously, how can you trouble others with this kind of thing? Please let me handle it myself. Is he the one who killed the sheep? 1,000 meters away, a girl wearing a white rabbit mask looked at her with great interest. You're quite handsome. HMPH, yes. A man with a pig mask was traveling with him, very strong, but if my god descends, I don't know what it will be like. Although he is handsome and interesting, how can he be compared with the great god? The rabbit glanced at the pig mask. I just need to wait quietly. Tian is really a special place, otherwise the great god, how could you choose to come here? Keep an eye on him all the time. This man is very dangerous. Put away your perverted thoughts. Don't forget that all the gentry and sheep died in his hands. Don't let the other party ruin the plan. The pig mask glanced at the white rabbit. Do you need to say it? The white rabbit replied indifferently. Back to the street. Lin Tien was sitting in the back row, and the moment he closed the car, his nerves skipped a beat. His eyes sank, and he looked at the tall building not far away. And there, nothing. Withdrawing his gaze, Lin Tien's thoughts returned to the right track. His perception can't be wrong, there was indeed someone looking at him just now. Now at this juncture, there is no one else who has the leisure to watch him, except the God sect. In Tian City, the Night Watch division belongs to it. Lin Tien followed Yang Qing to the branch located in the city. Looking at the modern building in front of you, the two ordinary-looking guards in front of the door stood up quickly the moment they saw them. Pedestrians were in a hurry, and the Night Watch branch blended well with the urban area, and it didn't look very special. On the whole, it is a normal company building. But only they, the Night Watchmen, know that this is just a disguise. The beef fork is hidden inside. Even the two plain-looking guards at the door were night watchmen in disguise. Go into the building. Lin Tien first entered his information at the front desk. Then Yang Qing came upstairs. The Night Watch division has a very complete system. The resources and facilities are complete, so after being injured in a battle with alien species, they generally do not go to a regular hospital for medical treatment. Injuries caused by alien species, including pollution, require the use of special forbidden substances and modern facilities in order to be effectively treated. The two came to a ward. In the room, several people were covered in bandages. A doctor in a white coat gave a few simple instructions and left the room. When they saw Lin Tien coming, they all smiled. Gao Yuan leaned on the hospital bed, and after hearing the sound of closing the door, he asked, "Is Xiaotian here?" "It's me," Lin Tien replied. He found that the opponent's eyes were wrapped with bandages. "Captain, your eyes." "Small problem." Gao Yuan waved his hand. "It's a bit overloaded, and I can't see the light these days, just go home and kill Pujisi." Compared with Gao Yuan's temporary blindness in both eyes, the injuries of the others were significantly less severe. Yang Qing's sternum was broken. For a second-level awakened person, she might be able to rest for 2 days. The only thing that affected her was that Dr. Li had told her not to stay up late until the injury healed. Wu Yu suffered a comminuted fracture in his right hand, but he could recover within a week by relying on the nutrient solution extracted from forbidden things. Basically, it's all about body folding. Amazing Lin Tien, although I am older than you, you will be my elder brother from now on. Wu Yu looked at Lin Tien with admiration, but then he looked a little disappointed. Unlike me, I have no talent, and the awakened object is still a shield, so it doesn't have much promise. Nonsense. Gao Yuan interrupted suddenly. Although he couldn't see, he still said very seriously, "Wu Yu, your shield is very useful. Without you, those corrosive liquids would have fallen on us long ago." Quote, "If you compare those attacks to football, and you holding the shield become the goalkeeper, we can keep the ball as far away from the goal as possible, but when it comes to the goal, it is still you who are crucial." The captain is right. Lin Tien patted Wu Yu's shoulder. "Everyone in our Red Moon team has its own role, doesn't it?" Wu Yu kept his head down. Although he didn't speak, it could be seen from his superficial emotions that he was much better than before. "Okay, Chen Haoshuan stretched out his hand to embrace the two of them, and said with a smile, "Today, with Xiaotian's help, 2A-level alien species were completed exceptionally. Although it has nothing to do with us, the secretary also gave us a lot of rewards." "No way." Lin Tien shook his head. "It wasn't that you consumed most of those 2 alien species, I wouldn't be so easy to harvest." "Don't be modest." Chen Haoshuan smacked his lips. "We are still a little bit self-aware. Our little injury is just scraping. If the 2 team leaders, Li and Zhao, were not standing in front, we might have lost. By the way, where are the 2 seniors, how are they doing now?" Lin Tien asked. "The 2 of them." Chen Haoshuan thought for a while, and replied, "They should be in the intensive care unit now, and they passed out after struggling to return to the department, but their lives are not seriously affected, it's just because of their age. It will take some time to recover from the hidden disease that fell before." Hiss. Lin Tien clenched his fists. "I'm sorry everyone, I'm late." "Blame yourself." Wu Yu, who hadn't spoken for a long time, spoke at this moment. "Lin Tien, if we didn't have you this time, we would really die. Why should we blame ourselves? All hurry up, maybe no one will get hurt." Lin Tien smiled and muttered, "After all, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility." "That's not your dafa." Wu Yu sighed. "Recently, many alien species have frequently appeared in major urban areas. This phenomenon is not limited to our Tian City, but the whole Great Sha. It's just that there are A-level alien species appearing for 2 consecutive days. Although it is relatively rare, it is definitely not impossible." He thought for a while and continued, "I heard from the captain that the night watchmen above the 4th level are all doing a very important thing, but they just can't make a move easily. It's not that they can't get out of the water. For today's 2A-level alien species, the mission makes us die rather than retreat. Let's see if those 2 beasts really break through the barrier and come to the world. The 4th level awakened people can't stop them, so we can only let stronger awakened people take action." Wu Yu scratched his head. "I speak straight, but the truth is like this. Lin Tien, you are very strong, but you are not the only night watchman. Everyone has responsibilities and things to protect. There is no need to take all the blame on yourself. Instead, we should all thank you. At least you helped us keep it there, otherwise, even if we die, we will continue to hate ourselves in the next life." In the ward, everyone was silent for a long time. Gao Yuan lifted the quilt off his body, stood on the ground and prepared to walk out of the ward. "Captain, why are you going?" Lin Tien looked at Gao Yuan, who stood up suddenly, and asked in doubt. "Buy barbecue." Gao Yuan stretched his body, and said with a smile, "Everything should be celebrated today. We have dealt with 2A-level alien species, and we are still wounded, and the department should transfer some 3rd and 4th level variants to the imperial capital. The night watchman is here, and there will be no more missions in the near future." "In that case," Chen Haoshuan tentatively asked, "can you drink?" "Of course." Gao Yuan nodded. "Otherwise, how can I eat barbecue?" "Great." When Yangqing heard this, she immediately burst into joy. "These days I have been busy fighting aliens every day, and finally I can find time to take a good rest. Let's go." Gao Yuan waved his hand. As if his vision was not obstructed, he walked straight to the door. Seeing this, Lin Tien couldn't help asking, "Captain, can you watch?" "I can't." Gao Yuan shook his head, pointed to his eyes and said, "You forgot that I am a spiritual awakener. After reaching the 3rd level, the spiritual power can be released and perceived. Except for the most basic color, which cannot be detected, everything else is the same as usual." "I see." Lin Tien suddenly realized. Thinking about it carefully, it seems that Johnny has tempered not only his knowledge of swordsmanship, but also his spiritual power and perception have become much stronger in this short period of time. Not surprisingly, if he was blindfolded, he might be able to do the same. Lin Tien looked at each of the bandaged faces, and asked again, "You are wounded, can you drink?" "Sure." Chen Haoshuan patted Lin Tien on the shoulder. "Xiaotian, you don't understand this. We didn't take cephalosporins, and we took the nutrient solution specially developed by Silly for the awakened ones. Let's not say there are no side effects. Even if there are, we are all awakened. Can our physical fitness be compared with ordinary people?" "Makes sense." Lin Tien followed suit and nodded again and again. ... Get out of the ward. There is one thing to say. Plus the night watchman's special hospital gown. Gao Yuan's attire was somewhat similar to that of a blind monk. I won't be driving today. That store is closer to here. Gao Yuan said bitterly. Besides, if the traffic police catch me while driving, they may not be able to explain clearly when they look at me dressed like this. Right, there is no doubt about this. The imagery is simple. A blind monk was driving in the street in broad daylight in his hospital gown. It is already very good if points are not deducted. Outside the night watch division. As soon as Gao Yuan went out, he took a deep breath and sighed. Ah, the sun is so bright today, it's dazzling. Lin Tien, can't you see it? Seemingly noticing Lin Tien's doubts, he explained, it's nothing, I'll liven up the atmosphere. Lin Tien, sure enough, when Gao Yuan walked onto the street in this outfit, many people have been attracted by it. Are young people so fierce now, 'cause blind monk? Don't talk nonsense, what if he is really blind? Then why haven't I seen a guide stick or a guide dog? Well, didn't you look at the side and followed someone? It may be a wealthy family who doesn't use guide dogs. Lin Tien, are you polite? The location of the Night Watch Division branch in the city is quite tricky. There are places of entertainment in all directions. The song and dance halls are a little behind, and the playground is even less ranked. Walk out less than 300 meters. Lin Tien saw no less than 15 places to massage and wash feet. Sudden, Lin Tien glanced around and seemed to notice two familiar faces standing in front of Li massage shop. Faces don't count. Because his whole body was covered with bandages, he left his eyes and nose to breathe. Isn't that Li Zhao's team leader? FK, when the identity of the other party is recognized. Lin Tien's two eyeballs almost popped out. Aren't they in the intensive care unit? It's less than 2 hours, why did you run to the massage shop in the blink of an eye? The two were on the left and the right, as if they were talking about something. Can't hear the conversation though. But Lin Tien was still able to rely on his keen perception to discover the ulterior smiles on their faces. Lin Tien, he was speechless. It really deserves to be a fourth-order awakener. In the morning, he was near death and seriously injured, and in the afternoon he washed his feet and massaged. It's a role model for me. Cross a crowded street. The two came to the food street. Follow Gao Yuan into a remote alley. In the deepest part of the alley is a barbecue restaurant with a simple style, with 4 fonts on the plaque above it. Veterans Barbecue. Push the door open and enter. A crisp bell sounded. The store is very clean, although there are not many people, but every floor tile is polished and polished. Dimly lit in front of the grill, exuding a different charm. Old Qian, here comes the guest, Gao Yuan yelled. Soon, the curtain of the back kitchen was pulled open, and an old man in his 70s and 80s walked out from inside. His head is full of white hair and his face is vicissitudes. The moment Lin Tien saw the old man, he was shocked by the injury on his body. One eye of the old man was covered by a mask, and his face seemed to have been burned by flames, leaving permanent scars. His left leg was amputated at the root, and he had to rely on both hands to support a cane when walking. There is almost no good place on the whole body, and it is full of horrible scars. Shoutian, this is my master's former comrade in arms. Gao Yuan explained respectfully. Sword idiot Hu Yuanfang's teammate. Hearing these words, Lin Tien looked at the old man again with deep respect. This is real veteran barbecue. After seeing Gao Yuan coming, Mr. Qian seemed to have noticed the bandages on the other's eyes. What's wrong with the eyes? Did you get injured by a different species during a mission? It's about the same. It's a small problem. It's not a serious problem. Gao Yuan shook his head, seemingly ignoring his injury, and instead smiled. Mr. Qian, I've made a great contribution here this time, and I'm here to celebrate. Have you made a great contribution? Mr. Qian opened the freezer behind him, took out the ingredients, and asked, what are you doing here? Look, this is my team member Lin Tien. Gao Yuan introduced. Mr. Qian nodded with a smile. He is indeed a newcomer. He looks like he has a good skeleton. He is a good seedling. It was he who killed 2 A-level alien species by himself. What? Old Qian was visibly startled, turned around and stared at the young man in front of him with astonishment. Go and tease your master, old man Qian, I don't know how to tease you. I can tease my master, can I tease you? Gao Yuan said seriously. Zhao King and Hao Xuan are both injured and staying in the ward, otherwise they will all come. Really, Qian Lao still didn't quite believe it. How old is this? 18 years old. Back then, Wang Yangxi and Zhang Chengwen were not so perverted, right? It's incredible. Elder Qian looked at Lin Tien deeply, and after a long time he took out a handful of fresh ingredients. Are they all the same? Yes. Gao Yuan nodded. Where's Xiaotian? Pork skewers, dried tofu rolls, grilled leeks, grilled oysters. Lin Tien read a few of his favorites according to the ingredients in the freezer. I didn't eat well yesterday, so I have to eat whatever I say today. Qian Lao nodded with a smile, and took out the ingredients one by one and put them on the grill. It's better to be young, so energetic. Old Qian, take 2 more handfuls of beef and mutton. Gao Yuan said suddenly. Yo, have you changed your taste? Qian Lao asked. That's right. Gao Yuan smiled euphemistically, and sat down at a seat closer to Qian Lao today. Listen to Captain Gao. Almost most of the people who come to this barbecue restaurant are night watchmen. Due to the night watchman's own reasons, there may not be a chance for a vacation for several months. In addition, the original location of the store is remote, so it often happens that no one comes for several days. But Mr. Qian still puts the freshest ingredients in the freezer every day, closes at 3 a.m. every day, and opens at 7 a.m. From the time he retired from injury until now. Day after day, without interruption. Lin Tien sat on the armchair, and after listening to this experience, he was also very moved. He found, as long as they are night watchmen of the older generation, they seem to have their own experience. Don't bring it up. If you talk about it, old man Qian will lose face. You know, the old man likes to save face. Qian Lao waved his hand and sighed. Old man Qian, let me tell you the truth. I just can't let go of you little guys, and I can't let go of the night watchman. As he said, he picked up a string of sizzling pork skewers from the grill and handed it to Lin Tien. Come on, little guy, take it. Old man Qian's barbecue is fragrant, and it's done. Lin Tien took it, and rolled down half a string in one gulp. Crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Delicious. Just took a bite, and he was full of praise. This is much more delicious than what I ate in the mall yesterday. Knew it. Barbecue masters are also different. It's fine if it's delicious. Mr. Qian said with a smile on his face. I don't have many years to live with this old bone. My biggest wish now is to see you little fellows in the department every day. I want you to finish the mission and have a bite of hot skewers when you come here. How exciting. When Mr. Qian said this, his eyes seemed to be lit up. By the way, how is your master? Can you pick it up? Hearing this, Gao Yuan shook his head and replied, it's still not good, but these days, I get along well with Mrs. Zhang next door. I dance square dance every day, which is very good. That's fine. Elder Qian twisted his neck comfortably. When the old guy was young, he only had swords in his mind, and he wished he could have a baby with him. Now I'm finally enlightened, and I finally understand the importance of finding a wife and having a home. He said to himself. Soon, he put a large handful of grilled and fragrant skewers on the plate. You have dealt with 2A-level alien species this time, and all of you are injured, so there shouldn't be any missions in the short term. As a retired senior from the Night Watch Division, Mr. Qian is still very clear about many systems. Don't you want to drink? It's soulless to eat barbecue without a bottle of ice snowflakes. Sure, bring 3 boxes. Gao Yuan said, and moved out 3 boxes from the corner in one go. 5 people drink so much. Mr. Qian joked. I think back then, Mr. Qian, I would drink by the truck, and dipping iron nails in soy sauce could go down 40 to 50 bottles. Several people looked at each other and laughed out loud. Lin Tien stood aside, actually wanting to say that he doesn't drink. He was worried that after drinking, he would not be able to swing his sword in the state when he returned. At this time, the system, which had been silent for a long time, sounded in his ears. Drinking drunk may have unexpected benefits for you. Close black lens bracket. What? Lin Tien felt that he heard it wrong. It wasn't until he saw the text on the panel that appeared in front of him that he asked in his heart, is it true? Can drinking be rewarded? Drunken fist. Is there no trust between people? The system is so disappointed in you. Close black lens bracket. Are you human? Lin Tien raised a fatal question in his heart. Open black lens bracket I, close black lens bracket. The system paused. There was a long silence. It continued. I approve of your attack power, I will not allow it next time. Close black lens bracket. Don't worry, it will be the same next time. Opening square bracket ... This system is set like this, for example, the last time, Sword Crazy, who Yuanfang, you learned, Sword of Time, from his personal experience. When you enter a certain artistic conception, or have a feeling for something, this system will give you unexpected rewards. Close black lens bracket. Lin Tien nodded half understanding. According to what you said, it's okay to be drunk. Of course, the premise is that you must be drunk. Close black lens bracket. Comma. Return to the Night Watch division. Yang Qing had been waiting for a long time, sitting on the bed was like losing her soul. When Gao Yuan came back with a big bag of barbecue, tears flowed from his mouth. Taking a deep breath, Yang Qing hurried to Gao Yuan's side. Take a bite, just take a bite, let me take a bite. Wait a minute, don't worry. Gao Yuan put one hand on Yang Qing's forehead, and let Lin Tien, who was carrying 3 boxes of snowflakes behind him, enter the room first. You guys take out the barbecue first, I'll call Captain Long. Gao Yuan spoke. I'll go. Lin Tien walked out of the ward first, I just happened to go to the bathroom. Get out of the bathroom. Lin Tien's room is next door to the Red Moon team. He stood in front of the door and knocked lightly on the door. Boom, 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 please come in. Long Weiguo's voice came from inside the house. Open the door. Discovering that it was Lin Tien, Long Weiguo also hurriedly stood up. The team members are all right. Lin Tien walked into the room and asked in a low voice. It's okay, it's not life-threatening. The corrosive liquid of the alien species has a hallucinogenic effect. It seems that it will take a day or 2 to wake up. Long Weiguo glanced at the unconscious team members lying on the hospital bed, then looked at Lin Tien and asked, what's wrong? Captain Gao bought some barbecue and wants you to eat it together. Barbecue. Because of killing 2 A-level aliens this time, our 2 teams have contributed a lot. Lin Tien waved his hand, have a bite. Walk. Without even thinking about it, Long Weiguo nodded and agreed, don't keep Captain Gao waiting, here we are. Before leaving, he looked back at the poor team members in his team, sighed and said, it's the captain's fault that caused you to suffer such serious injuries. Take a good rest. When the injury recovers, the captain will take you out for a meal. But before that, I'll try it for you first. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe. Chapter 51. In the ward, 6 people gathered around a small wooden table. Talking and laughing, very happy. Long Weiguo held up a bottle of big green sticks, held a skewer in his right hand, and yelled, this time, it's really thanks to Lin Tien, 18 years old, how perverted. The Night Watchmen have such monsters, aliens. They should be punished. Chen Haoshuan followed closely with a bottle, and the 2 glanced at each other, as if they understood what the other wanted to do. Cheers, cheers, the 2 said in unison. Others also picked up their own bottles. The crisp sound of knocking bottles echoed in the ward. Lin Tien narrowed his eyes, sat cross-legged on the ground holding the wine bottle with a smile on his face, and remained silent. Shouldn't it? When did he drink so much? How many bottles are there? Less than 4 bottles. Although he hasn't drank much in this life, he did in his previous life. Basically blowing 10 bottles in a row is no problem. I didn't expect that. People become stronger, but the amount of alcohol becomes smaller. Why doesn't Xiaotian speak? Gao Yuan seemed to have noticed the quiet. Lin Tien, are you uncomfortable? No. Lin Tien shook his head, took a mouthful of dried tofu rolls, and then took another sip. Is he uncomfortable? It's because I'm a little confused and don't know what to say. Could it be drunk? Yang Qing looked at Lin Tien quietly, and said with a smile, a child is a child, be good, listen to Sister Qing and go drink juice. She boldly knocked the big green stick that she drank half a bottle on the table. Then there was a hiccup. I'm not drunk. Lin Tien's eyes were hazy, like a machine, he took a sip abruptly. Hiss. This wine. Why is it tasteless? Gao Yuan just shook his head with a smile, and then asked Yang Qing, how many bottles? 2 bottles. The last bottle. I drink very well. Yang Qing snorted, turned her head to the side, with an expression of dissatisfaction. A dignified second-order awakener. Just pour 3 bottles, what's the system? Last year, on December 4th, at 10:09 p.m., after drinking 2.5 bottles, you shouted in the street. Stop, stop, stop. Yang Qing changed her face and interrupted suddenly, don't talk. Why do you still remember this? Of course, I remember it very clearly. Gao Yuan looked at the other party, and then glanced at the wine bottle in her hand. Yang Qing confessed on the spot, put the wine aside, no more, no more. Snort. She muttered something, put her slightly drunk face in both hands, opened a bottle of green apples with a straw, and inhaled angrily, I'll drink the juice. Lin Tien straightened his body, and couldn't even hear what they were talking about. He vaguely heard someone calling him, so he nodded his head twice to mean it. Time passed by every minute and every second. At dusk, the barbecue on the table was almost eaten by everyone. Wu Yu burped, and stood up drunkenly. No, who of you has heard Lin Tien talking in the past few hours? Xiao Tian. Hearing this, Gao Yuan took advantage of the situation to look at where Lin Tien was sitting. It's okay not to look at it, but I was shocked when I saw it. Wine bottles all over the floor have piled up into a hill. And Lin Tien just sat on the ground, staring blankly at him. How much did you drink? Gao Yuan stood up in shock and looked at the 4 boxes of wine over there. Empty. The 5 of them drank less than 2 boxes. According to this, Lin Tien drank the rest of the co-authorship alone. Who called me? Lin Tien raised his head, and only then came to his senses. FK. Niu Lin Tien. Wu Yu gave a thumbs up, drinking so much, my face is neither red nor white, I'm willing to bow down. Lin Tien was stunned. When did I drink so much? Hiss. I remembered. I seemed to be in a daze just now, and I drank the whole 2 boxes of duo without knowing it. Are you okay? Chen Haoshuan said worriedly. Awakened people can't drink like that. The most important thing is that I didn't even go to the toilet once. I'm still drunk. Lin Tien rubbed the back of his head and answered honestly, well. I'm going home first, it's getting late. Everyone, can you go back by yourself? Gao Yuan frowned, how about we send you? No, I'm fine. After finishing speaking, Lin Tien got up and walked outside. That's the window. Lin Tien, everyone. Night has come. Lin Tien was walking on the path home alone, the scorching warm wind blowing on his body. Drunkenness swept through the body. The strong dizziness gradually blurred his vision. Work hard. Lin Tien supported the side of the road and stood for a long time before he regained some consciousness. He walked home unsteadily, and kept muttering, swordplay, swing sword, chop, chop god. In the district, Zhang Ling, who finished her evening self-study, was about to go home. Sudden, she seemed to see a figure walking slowly towards her by the bright street lamp. The pace is erratic, the body shakes slightly, walking like a zombie. Zhang Ling's heart skipped a beat. What's the matter with this man? Sucked, etc. Why does that person look a little familiar? Zhang Ling brushed her hair, waiting for the man to walk in. Lin Tien, after seeing the identity of the other party clearly, Zhang Ling said softly, why are you here? The school has rumored that you jumped off the building and disappeared. Is there a foreign species? It smells so good. She leaned in front of Lin Tien, and after smelling the strong smell of alcohol on his body, she frowned tightly, have you been drinking? Linger. Lin Tien stopped and looked down at the girl in front of him. I don't know if it was alcohol. Why is Zhang Ling looking better than usual today? Lips are supple with a hint of pink. If this is a kiss. Should. Hey. Sensing Lin Tien's gaze, Zhang Ling instantly became vigilant, like a frightened kitten, crossing his hands across his chest, bah. Lin Tien pouted, I didn't do anything. But I know what you want. Zhang Ling's face was stained with a faint blush, don't think that drinking, you can do whatever you want after drinking. Don't drink next time. You can't drink so much. No. Lin Tien nodded. Just no, let's go home. Zhang Ling smacked his lips and grabbed Lin Tien's arm, don't get lost. After speaking, she took a step forward. Can't move. What are you doing? Zhang Ling turned his head, staring at Lin Tien who stood motionless with his distant eyes, I'll make you some honey water when I get back. Be careful these 2 days. Lin Tien didn't answer, but spoke to himself. What? I want to kill God. He still said. You. Zhang Ling straightened her nose, where are the gods? There will be. Then you go back first. Before Zhongling could finish speaking, he felt a sinking in front of him. Look up. Lin Tien's whole body was directly spread on her body. Zhongling subconsciously wanted to push it away, but quickly withdrew her outstretched hand, and said softly, "Don't sleep, I can't carry you on my back. My head is a little dizzy." Lin Tien muttered. But there was a smile secretly. Return home. Zhongling put down his school bag and helped Lin Tien to the sofa. She breathed a sigh of relief, but she kept looking at Lin Tien. "Did you laugh secretly just now?" "Abba." Lin Tien's eyes were dim and he sat on the sofa blankly, getting even more drunk. "What did you say?" "I don't know." Seeing Lin Tien's delay in responding, Zhongling sighed. "Am I overthinking?" She thought the other party was pretending to be drunk, but in fact he was hiding a conspiracy. "Looks really drunk now." Zhongling turned around and walked to the kitchen, her heart beating wildly when she thought of the scene where Lin Tien fell on her just now. "Hey, wake up," she kept telling herself inwardly. "Anyway, he's drunk and won't remember anything early tomorrow morning." In the living room, Lin Tien sat on the sofa with an expression of afterthought. Soft and fragrant. Just now, he originally wanted to kiss her lightly. But considering the existence of Uncle Zhong, a 6th-level awakener, he restrained himself. After all, if it really did. If you kiss her, you will lose your life. It's really not worth it. Here, drink. At this time, Zhongling came to Lin Tien with a cup of warm honey water. "Drink and go to bed." Lin Tien was indifferent. "What's wrong? My hands are weak, please feed me." Lin Tien pretended to be weak, put a hand on his forehead, and complained, "Oh, I feel dizzy, my whole body is weak, and I feel uncomfortable." As he spoke, one hand moved toward the other side to catch the water glass. "Hey! Why is the water missing?" "You." Zhongling clenched his fist with his left hand. "Are you pretending?" Abba. Zhongling. "Come on, open your mouth. Enjoy." After drinking the honey water, Zhongling went back. "Go to bed quickly. Don't drink so much next time. Remember to call me if you need anything." After saying that, she left the room. On the sofa, Lin Tien sat quietly, letting the alcohol rush through his body. He was even more drunk. His expression was solemn, and he seemed to feel the sword heart in his body trembling slightly. "I feel that the host is drunk and has entered the realm of wine and sword fairy." Close black lens bracket. Every time you swing the sword, you can trigger double critical hits, and the rewards and times will increase exponentially. Close black lens bracket. When the host sobers up, it will automatically exit the artistic conception. Close black lens bracket. Tip. The probability of entering the Jujianxian mood again is 0.03%. If you choose to be the dog of the system, the probability can increase significantly. Close black lens bracket. I bother. Lin Tien directly ignored the fourth line. He picked up the wooden sword. Now that we have entered the artistic conception of the so-called Juice Sword Fairy, then you can't let it go easily. By virtue of being able to trigger critical strikes, the number of sword swings exceeded 10,000 in one fell swoop. This is how to welcome 3 days later. The gods revive. Come to the balcony. Lin Tien's body was filled with the aroma of wine. His eyes were even more drunk, and there was only one thing left in his consciousness. Swing the sword. Thanks to the alcohol, the warm wind seemed to have become much cooler. Instantly, the artistic conception of time that I realized some time ago was also released at the same time. In Lin Tien's eyes, the 4 seasons turn around, and summer disappears in the blink of an eye. Time is like an hourglass. It goes by bit. Trigger critical strike. Swing the sword twice and get the reward. 2 sword intentions. Close black lens bracket. Trigger critical strike. Swing the sword twice and get the reward. 2 sword intentions. Close black lens bracket. Unknowingly, the heart scene that belongs exclusively to Lin Tien has come to Chicho at this moment. The withered and yellow leaves are falling apart. He stood on the top of the rocky mountain and looked down. The lone boat floated along the river, and the old man sat alone on the bow, fishing here with a fishing rod in his hand. Those who use the sword can cast a scene in their hearts, in order to make one's own kendo more stable and refined. His state of mind. It was somewhat similar to the artistic conception when I first met the old man Xiaoyao. The wooden sword was held in Lin Tien's hand and swung downward continuously. It's here. He cannot feel the passage of time. Lin Tien will consciously withdraw from here until the rewards and times are no longer critical. Currently, I have swung the sword 8,000 times in total. Close black lens bracket. Xiaoyao sword intent has reached great success. Close black lens bracket. Achievements improve. The host has a deeper understanding of kendo, and his strength has greatly increased. Close black lens bracket. Hours flew by. His realm of Xiaoyao sword intent has stepped from the Dacheng just now to the perfection in an instant. Lin Tien was amazed in his heart. He didn't expect that he would be so aware of the benefits brought to him by the Jujian immortal artistic conception. In the last few swings of the sword, he slowly found out. After triggering a critical strike, it is not just rewards and times that are doubled. Even the efficiency of understanding the sword has become much faster. Currently, the sword has been swung 10,000 times in total. Close black lens bracket. Reward. Top sword move, sword 9 6,000 miles. Close black lens bracket. At the moment of reward, Lin Tien's mental scene has undergone earth-shaking changes. At some point in time, the originally desolate mountain range became more human-like. Villages appeared from afar. Standing on the top of the mountain, Lin Tien was shocked by the changes in front of him. He seemed to see children in the village playing with candied haws in their hands and pigtails. He also saw a knight in brocade clothes galloping along the path on a fine horse. Just when Lin Tien lamented why his mood had changed like this, a wrinkled, white-haired old man with one missing front tooth suddenly came from behind him. It was different from the happy old man I saw for the first time. The simple-looking old man in front of him obviously had a bit of quack aura about him. And behind him was a sword box made of old wood. As soon as he saw Lin Tien, the old man smiled and said, "My lord, do you want to learn?" It's 2 short words, but Lin Tien knows the meaning very well. He became curious. It was the first time that the old man Xiaoyao taught him the sword intent of Xiaoyao. So what did the experienced old man in the rivers and lakes in front of him teach him? Study. Lin Tien cupped his hands to show his respect. "Young master, you have to be careful." The old man smiled honestly. "Although my sword is ordinary in shape, the deep meaning in it cannot be understood overnight. Ask for instructions." Lin Tien replied respectfully. "Okay," the old man said happily, and then he patted the sword case with his skinny hands. Wink. While unfolding the sword box, he held a long sword in his hand. "My lord is very talented, the best I've ever seen," the old man said, with the wind and frost in his eyes. "This sword is what I have learned all my life." In an instant, the old man gently handed out the sword with one hand. "My sword is named, Sword 9, 6,000 miles. Silver sword energy suddenly flew out from the blade. Lin Tien looked at it pleasingly. Above the sky, the silver sword energy suddenly drew a deep ravine, hanging upside down thousands of miles away. In the forest, there is a song of 8 immortals kneeling, and the bad horse and rice wine are 6,000 miles away. Lin Tien stood on the top of the mountain. He seemed to have seen the old man's former splendor in this sword. When returning to God, thousands of miles of sword energy is gone. Only one weather-beaten old man and a bowl of yellow rice wine remained. He sighed, and cheerfully put the sword away in the sword case. "Young master, can you still see clearly?" Lin Tien nodded. The old man said again, "My sword cuts half of the river and lake." 1-day countdown to the recovery of the gods. Deep in the core, the voice from ancient times seems to have crossed countless rivers of time and arrived here. In the vast darkness, the compressed light spots flickered on and off, and inside the light spots, the iron chains engraved with runes could be vaguely seen breaking apart. Tian City. A black car drove into an old residential area. Gao Yuan got out of the car carrying 2 boxes of special motai, and then knocked on the iron door. For a long time, the iron door was pushed open. Hu Yuanfang's resentful little eyes poked out from the crack of the door. "Little fatty. You're promising, are you thinking of me, an old fellow?" "Master, I came to see you as soon as I was on vacation." Gao Yuan shook the things in his hand, looked at the narrow gap in the door, and had no choice but to say, "It seems that master doesn't welcome me, then." "Welcome." Click. "The door is open." Hu Yuanfang showed a simple and honest smile. "Please." The master and apprentice came to the house. "You do it first." Hu Yuanfang signaled Gao Yuan to sit down, and then said, "You bastard, this stuff is not cheap, your master and I are used to drinking erguotu. Then I'll return it, and I'll give you a box of erguotu instead." "Hey, master, I have been busy for most of my life, what's the matter with drinking this?" Hu Yuanfang coughed twice. "How do you say that foreign word?" He scratched his gray hair and had a flash of inspiration. "Oh, yes, it's drink. Drink a lot, lofty." He looked at his master, who was in his 70s or 80s, with a puzzled face, and asked, "Master, didn't you care about this thing the least before?" I don't know who made a look of contempt when they mentioned this thing before. Sigh. After hearing this, Hu Yuanfang sighed helplessly. "I can't help it. I contacted an emotional hotline not long ago, and the young man said that old ladies like Western styles. He said, pointing at his full head of white hair, 'Oh right, Xiaopong, if I dye this hair green, master, will it be foreign? Will it become more temperamental as a teacher?'" "Stop, stop." Gao Yuan hurriedly dissuaded him when he heard this. "Master, don't mess around, those emotional hotlines are all deceitful. Yang didn't see it, it was quite hell anyway." "Nonsense." Hu Yuanfang nodded resolutely. What the young man said, "Anyway, I think it makes sense. I heard that a strategy book will be released recently. It seems to be called Love Saint Senior Edition, only 998, free shipping to bring back home." "Master, that's all a lie." Gao Yuan helped Hu Yuanfang to the sofa, and patiently explained, "Master, I'll ask you a question. How old are you?" 79. Hu Yuanfang said lightly. Gao Yuan nodded and continued, "Don't you think this is wrong? You are 79. That young man is probably not as old as me. Would you like him to teach you about dating? Isn't that nonsense? A 20-year-old boy teaching a 79-year-old man how to attack an old lady. Looking at the entire emotional world, this is quite a blast." After listening to what Gao Yuan said, Hu Yuanfang nodded thoughtfully. "Little fatty, it seems to make sense. You see, right, at your age, what matters most when looking for a wife is long-lasting water. Aunt Zhang cooks for you every day, which must be interesting to you." Hu Yuanfang nodded in agreement. "Then I don't care about being a teacher. Anyway, I'm your family now. Whether I can have a wife for the rest of my life as a teacher, and whether I can be happy, I will leave it to Xiaopong Yu." Ah, Gao Yuan was stunned, but looking at his master's longing expression, he didn't refuse in the end. "Actually think about it carefully. It's not very difficult either. All he has to do is build a bridge between them and say a few nice words back and forth." Speaking of which, Hu Yuanfang held the freshly brewed hot tea in his hand, looked at Gao Yuan and said, "You're not too old, so why don't you consider a relationship?" "Me?" Gao Yuan was stunned for a moment. "Fall in love? Has he thought about it? In other words, who to fall in love with?" After thinking about it, Gao Yuan said, I've thought about it." "What's supposed to be?" Hu Yuanfang said leisurely. "I didn't know anything about love before, as a teacher. It wasn't until I put down the sword that I felt family affection and wanted to live a normal life. Master, I also want to have a granddaughter and grandson to play with." Lofty. It's not like he hasn't thought about this issue. In other words, it's not that I can't, but I don't dare. He looked downcast and spoke slowly. "Master, you were once a night watchman, so you naturally understand what kind of responsibilities and missions this profession carries. Even the precepts say that the night watchman is the hope of great Shah, lighting up the last flame of the wick when darkness falls." Gao Yuan choked up. "You have always sacrificed everything for the night watchman, and you deserve to live a normal life now. But I'm different. I have more important things to accomplish. I'm afraid that if I have a lover, then there will be so-called care and bondage. That would make me hesitate to give my life. If I really make a big mistake because of this, I will regret it for the rest of my life. In the end, it's better for me to be alone. If I die, I will die. I have no worries." He took a sip of hot tea and smiled relievedly. "The last thing I want is to make others worry. I might die fighting alien species one day. It's really nice to be alone." Hu Yuanfang's expression was a little complicated. How could he not know that what Gao Yuan said was exactly what all the night watchmen were thinking now? Night watchmen are human beings too. It's just because of the responsibilities and missions on the shoulders, Daxia, and the lights of thousands of families behind him. At that time, my own personal desires and emotions were not that important. Forget it, forget it. Hu Yuanfang waved his hand. Don't think about it so much. As a teacher, you don't need to worry about other things except Mrs. Zhang next door. Both my disciple and my grandson live a pretty good life, free and easy. Seeing that Gao Yuan didn't respond, he sat on the other corner of the sofa, glanced at his left hand that couldn't hold the sword, and said, "Little fatty, don't forget it. Your master and I are still alive, and you are not alone." I know the master. Gao Yuan's eyes were wandering, looking at his lost right hand from time to time. That's enough, you don't understand. Hu Yuanfang was a little impatient, and glanced at him. You look like a lonely hero. You have a master and teammates who can go through life and death with you. These are enough. From the recovery of the gods, the countdown is 0 days. Close black lens bracket. Looking into the sky. Above the star dome, in the depths of tens of thousands of asteroids, the same light spots as those in the depths of Great Sha exude bright and cold light. Countless iron chains were broken, and phantoms transformed into gods stood in the depths of the universe, looking down at the blue star in front of them. Looking down. Big Sha. The gods are revived, and the abyss has arrived. The catastrophe that belongs to Great Sha has finally come. Tian City Night Patrol Branch. In the office. Zhang Chengwen sat on a chair, looking preoccupied. After a while, he slapped the table with his big hand. Just 1 hour, don't fight, prepare for battle at any time. With my strength, there will be no problems. He stood up after speaking. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from the spot. Compared with the 5th level awakened, the 6th level does not need 100% attention when watching. What's more, he is a top 6th order awakener like him. After all, today is a very important day. Less than 10 minutes. Zhang Chengwen's figure had already appeared in front of his house. However, at this time, he had 2 more bags of ingredients in his hand. Use the key to open the door. The house was empty. He washed his hands, and before he had time to rest, he plunged into the kitchen. After more than an hour. After finishing all his work, Zhang Chengwen walked out of the kitchen with a face of comfort. Ding. Then the phone rang. Zhang Chengwen quickly wiped his hands with the scarf on his chest, then picked up the phone. Hello, how are you? Excuse me, is this Mr. Zhang? I'm on the app with a broken leg. The 2 things you ordered have arrived. On the other side of the phone, a man said. Okay, thanks, I'll go downstairs now. At the same time, underground in Tian City. The Lord God comes to the world, brings new life, and cleanses all the sins in the world. When the midnight moon spreads its wings and rises high into the sky, we will offer sacrifices and wait for the light of redemption. With God. Thousands of followers knelt on the ground piously, ignoring their bloody foreheads, only endless madness remained in their eyes. In front of them, of the 11 apostles, only 4 remain. And they also knelt on one knee, their eyes trembling with madness and excitement. The priest of the god religion waved the skull scepter made of unknown creatures in his hand, and kept shouting loudly, God. Great God. Come to the world. We are all your greatest followers. Lead us to wash away all the sins in the world. Let us greet the new world together. Instantly. In the rotten pit, the countless innocent people who were howling miserably fell silent in an instant. Their skin began to evaporate until the blood and life were completely drained by the pit. Until death, those people's eyes were filled with almost extreme despair. This kind of inhumane, devoid of humanity sacrificial array. Just to speed up the recovery time of a powerful god. Immediately afterwards, a light spot rose from the bottom, accompanied by the last few chains in the light group breaking. Suddenly, appears in the shadow of the gods. Below, all the cult members buried their heads hard on the ground. Gods, even their followers are not qualified to watch. This is the most basic fear of God. With God. 30-minute countdown to the coming of the gods. Close black lens bracket. In the district. HMPH, today is the most important day. Zhang Chengwen's face was full of joy, and he pressed his somewhat bulging pockets. But the next moment, his pupils shrank suddenly. An almost shocking sense of crisis welled up in my heart. There is something. Zhang Chengwen's nerves tensed up instantly, and he locked on to the source of the sense of crisis in an instant. Suddenly, The strength of his sixth order awakened burst out without reservation in an instant. No pretense was done. At this very moment, all he had to do was rush to the source of that crisis immediately. Tian City, West District. On an undeveloped wasteland. A 100-meter-high abyss crack stands here. When the pedestrians wandering around saw this scene, the fear of death welled up in their hearts, and they all fled in the opposite direction. In the 100-meter-high crack, countless scarlet eyes stared greedily at Dasha ahead. Roar! A deafening roar came from the depths. Accompanied by the sound, an equally huge alien jumped out of the crack at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, at the moment when the alien rushed out, a figure suddenly appeared, and then punched out. The giant alien didn't have time to react, and received a solid punch on the top of its head. Boom! The moment it fell to the ground, the earth trembled. Go back, beast! Zhang Chengwen glared at the gigantic monster in front of him, his eyes were not afraid at all. Behind him, hundreds of golden chains shredded the space, like swaying pythons. This is what Overwatch really does. Using itself as a radar guarding the city, it constantly patrols the city for hazards. The purpose is to prevent this from happening. And they are not only guarding the gods, but also alien species above S rank. Once you reach S rank or above, if you don't block the crack the moment it appears, those beasts can take the lives of tens of thousands of people in just a few seconds. The S-level alien, Desoy, from that year destroyed 1/10 of a city in less than 10 seconds. Hundreds of thousands of innocent human beings died tragically under its tentacles. And the only ones who can block it in a short period of time are the awakened ones above the 5th level. That's why they didn't dare to act rashly even when they noticed the appearance of A-level alien species. The risks are simply too great. If all the night watchmen who are watching are taking chances, as long as the blocking time is 1 second at night, or because of that second, the alien species will kill the urban area. The effects, are irreversible. The main thing is, so far, the Night Watch Division has not found a space-forbidden object that can accommodate S level or higher. Forbidden objects with the highest level can only trap a level. It was the Crimson Satin that Gao Yuan used at that time. Forbidden objects of that level, alien species above S rank can forcibly break through with just breath. Zhang Chengwen took a deep breath. Look back again. Behind him, there are already several night watchmen above the 4th rank, including the 5th rank. Including the 2 team leaders, Li Jiao, who was still injured. Roar! The alien species who had been blasted back to its lair by Zhang Chengwen's punch just now crawled out of the crack again. He stared intently, a look of horror suddenly appeared on his face. After recognizing the other party's identity, with a low voice, Zhang Chengwen blurted out, I observed on the 6th floor of the abyss 5 years ago. SS-level alien, code-named Yandaros. SS-level alien species. Almost all the night watchmen present could not help but feel a sudden tremor in their hearts. Their eye sockets were deep, and they looked at the alien-like monster in front of them with vigilance. I vaguely remember, 26 years ago, when the S-class mutant, Desoy, appeared, it was such a terrifying and despairing scene. The 100-meter-tall body took away tens of thousands of human lives in just an instant. There were several of them here who had been through that battle. If Hu Yuanfang hadn't appeared back then and seriously injured him with 3 swords, he would have been killed in the abyss plane at the cost of losing an arm. Otherwise, Wenjiang City that year would have been wiped out from Daxia long ago. But now, an existence more powerful than the alien species appeared. After Chairman Wang entered the 7th level, he once visited the 6th level of the abyss 3 times. The rumored Lord of the Abyss did not find it, but recorded several alien species that were far above S level. Yandaros is one of them. It was like a natural hunter, its exposed bright red flesh constantly writhing with white stripes like snowflakes. The slender body was covered with red spikes, and the sharp claws sank into the ground. The head filled with flesh and tentacles stared at the leader Zhang Chengwen. Yandaros. The hearts of the night watchmen present were beating wildly. It felt like I was being treated as a prey to be played with. And the other party is the hunter who can control life and death. Roar! Yandaros roared angrily, his head split into 4 pieces, and smelly saliva dripped. The punch just now angered the bloodlust in its heart. Everyone, Zhang Chengwen stepped into the air, and spiritual particles as dense as starlight circled and intertwined in the air behind him. He looked down at Yandaros, get ready to fight. At the same time, Tian number 1 middle school. Most of the students in the school were divided into more than a dozen square teams and stood neatly on the playground. They wore uniform dark blue camouflage uniforms. Today is the first day of military training. A dozen instructors disguised as night watchmen stood in front of them, their eyes solemn. It's so hot, why do you feel so hot today? It's not only hot but also stuffy. Hey, let me tell you, don't you think the weather is a little weird today? It's only around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but why does it feel like it's almost dusk? Who knows, but I heard that Lin Tien from class 4 is not here again. I heard before that he abandoned his companions and even skipped military training today. How awesome. The whole country has been paying attention to military training in the past 2 years. I fled on the first day. I can't comment. In a team, listening to the whispers of the classmates around him, Zhongling looked up at the sky, feeling inexplicably uneasy. She always felt that something big would happen today. Several instructors in military uniforms walked up to the high platform and took turns speaking a few impassioned opening remarks. The military training journey lasting 7 days and 7 nights officially began. During this period, all their food, clothing, housing and transportation must be carried out in school. During these 7 days, they were no longer students, but real soldiers. There is no need to worry about studying, the only thing to do is to abide by the duties of a soldier and obey orders. In the team, Zhongling remained silent, lowering his head and thinking a lot. Aren't you happy, Ling? Lu Yaoyao realized that Zhongling's mood didn't seem to be right, and whispered with concern, who bullied you? Tell me, and I will deal with him for you. It's okay. Zhongling shook his head, and said lightly, stand still. After the instructor finishes speaking, he finds out that you are dishonest. It's time to blame you. Don't worry. Lu Yaoyao mysteriously took out a brand new comic book from her pocket. Here you are. What is this? A gift. Lu Yaoyao replied. Why are you giving me a present? Zhongling raised his big downcast eyes slightly, looking at the manga called Fate of Space, feeling a little puzzled. Isn't it, Linger, are you stupid? Lu Yaoyao was very surprised by Zhongling's words, and forced the manga into the other party's hands, and then said, today is. Suddenly, a siren that resounded throughout the city interrupted Lu Yaoyao's words. The dazzling red light starts from the city center and covers the entire city. Attention! Ultra-high-risk alien species are infested in this city. All citizens are requested to follow the relevant personnel in an orderly manner to evacuate to the nearest shelter after hearing the alarm. Alert! Alert! Super high risk. Everyone looked at the flashing red light in the distance, and their hearts began to panic. The playground where thousands of students gathered suddenly became chaotic. Sure enough, I just said something is wrong today. The end of the world. What the hell is the end of the world? Dusk is coming, so the super high-risk alien species must be like Godzilla. Who will save us? Who can deal with that kind of monster? Ultraman. Where in this world can we find Ultraman who saves the world? Everyone was completely overwhelmed by fear, scrambling to run into the shelter. Everyone hold on tight. At this time, the instructor said loudly. After all, they are active night watchmen, and they are relatively calmer about this situation. Everyone, don't panic. Someone will take care of these things. There is a shelter under the school. Everyone enters in order, don't push. The heterogeneous species will not arrive here in a short time. One of the instructors shouted. There was a scratch-like scar around the corner of his eye, and his face looked unfriendly. So, when the man spoke, all the students were shocked by the powerful aura emitted by the other party. The panicked footsteps subconsciously stopped in place. Zhongling looked at the sky. The skyline is like being burned by blazing fire, dim and dull, like the end of the world, making people restless. What is it today? She was holding the comic book just now in her hand, and she was already in the crowd of people. The two were forced to separate because of the restlessness just now. Zhongling lowered his head and followed the crowd slowly towards the shelter. The alarm sounds, which means that the alien species is coming. Just like what I heard in the mall before. But this time it's not a shopping mall, but the entire Tian City. This shows that the degree of danger of the alien species is enough to destroy a city. She couldn't help looking in the direction of home. Dad. Lin Tien. You guys are not in danger. Kyoto, the headquarters of the Night Watch Division. Like Tian, at this time, Kyoto also rang the alarm bell for the whole city. Report. There are a large number of abyssal cracks in Nane City. Night watchmen have stepped forward to block them. Report. There are a large number of abyss cracks in Halen City. Night watchmen have stepped forward to block them. Report. A large number of abyss cracks have appeared in the west of Tongchuan province, including the 3 cities in the northeast. Wang Yangshi looked at the dense red dots on the screen, and his heart sank. Speaker Wang, there is a super large abyss crack in Kyoto, and a god is added to it. Yes, today is the catastrophe that belongs to Great Shah. In the office, Wang Yangshi turned back and stared at the rising fire. That is the resurrected god. The light was bright, but it was bitingly cold. Immediately, he picked up the phone on the table, with firm eyes and a sonorous voice. Alien disaster, the gods are resurrected. We have no way out, because there is a bottomless abyss behind us. The original intention of establishing the Night Watch Department was to protect the people, Daxia, and the lights of thousands of families behind them. Now, the time has come to fulfill our promise. Now that the Great Shah is about to fall, I hope you will abandon life and death and save tens of millions of people from the fire and water. One last time, we have no way out. Quote, a gilded spear appeared in Wang Yangshi's hand. His momentum was high, and he rushed into the sky. All night watchmen obey orders. Follow me to fight against foreign enemies. Tian City. Tens of thousands of aliens flooded the streets. They are like gnawing mad dogs, killing without restraint. On the street, hordes of humans ran frantically toward the nearest shelter. They screamed and ran forward desperately. Because behind you is death. Countless alien species are fighting in the streets, and no one, no matter the age or gender, can escape their clutches. Go away, old immortal. A pretty boy wearing designer clothes frantically pushed away the staggering old man in front of him. Don't block my way. If you run so slowly, then you should die for me. But the next second, a putrid-looking spider alien species landed on top of his head. Its 2 sharp fangs easily pierced the man's skull and sucked his brain to its heart's content. Ah, monster, run quickly. The old, weak, sick and disabled are stalling for time. Don't stop me. I don't want to die. I want to go to the shelter. I don't want to die either. You all get out. Whoever you love will die. I don't want to die. The end of the world is coming. Humanity is going extinct. This is retribution. No, there is no hope. I am tired and don't want to run away. Xiaomei, I will be yours in the next life. Licking the dog. You bitch, I've been putting up with you for a long time. You spent my money and went out to sleep with men behind my back. Just in time, just get out of here and hook up with those monsters. FK the 3-second man, if you want to die, you will die, but I won't die. Howls and despair almost took over the entire city. Unarmed humans are like lambs surrounded by hungry wolves. The streets were filled with broken limbs and arms, and rivers of blood flowed like a purgatory on earth. Ahead, there are people fleeing. Behind him are the alien species that are being hunted. Now, who can come to save them? Most of the people in an overturned bus had gone their separate ways to escape. Only a mother and daughter were left trapped in the scrap metal. The mother's chest was pierced by a broken steel rod, and blood flowed down the broken window, which would soon attract alien species. Mom, there are big monsters out there. Really, will Ultraman really come to save us? The little girl cried silently. She nestled tightly in her mother's arms, feeling the hands that were getting colder. Mom, don't leave me. Mom. There will definitely be. A smile appeared on the pale face of the man. He tremblingly picked up a blood-stained yellow duck hat from the ground, and then put it on the little girl's head. Cherry, be good, mommy is fine. Hey, whose little girl is this? She's so cute. The little girl cried bitterly. At this moment, a crawling alien got into the car and discovered the existence of mother and daughter. The mother hugged the girl tightly in her arms and said, Cherry is not afraid, mother is here. The alien roared and bit into the mother and daughter. At this time, a man rushed into the car, grabbed the alien's throat with both hands, and tore it to pieces. It's okay, leave it to us here. The man easily opened the seat that was pressing on the mother. Come here. There are wounded here. Here comes Captain. Inside the bus. The little girl raised her head in confusion and looked up at the resolute man in front of her. She mustered up her courage. Her eyes seemed to be bright. Uncle, are you Ultraman? Ultraman. The man was stunned, then smiled. Yes, we are Ultraman. This answer is exactly the same as what Lin Tien said at the time. We are Ultraman who only belong to Daxia. The man gently stroked the girl's head. My name is Long Weo, and I am a night watchman. The other side. More and more people choose to swim upstream. She stood against the fleeing crowd, took firm steps, and walked towards the opposite side full of corpses without hesitation. This moment, these people became freaks in the eyes of other fleeing people. Why did they suddenly run backwards? Crazy. Don't you know there are all monsters over there? Don't care what they are doing, eat radish salty and don't worry about it, your own life is the most important, just to delay time. Yes, they are freaks. They don't care about life and death, and they hold the responsibility of their family and country high above the sky. Among this group of people, there are teenagers and girls who have just graduated, stable men who have started a family and start a business, and there are also stall owners who sell fish in the market. But at this moment, there are no more distinctions. They have a unified identity. Night watchman, in a dilapidated neighborhood. Master, they have all evacuated, why don't you go? Gao Yuan looked at Hu Yuanfang, who was standing outside the windowsill, with worried eyes. Let's go. Hu Yuanfang blew his beard and stared at Gao Yuan. Go, go. Is there any reason for the master to leave the apprentice and run first? I said, as long as your master and I live for a day, I will protect you for a day, and I will die before you as a teacher forever. Thump, looking at Hu Yuanfang's body like a candle. No matter how hard it is for Gao Yuan to suppress the emotions in his heart, Master, I'm sorry for you. It was he who caused a great Shah hero to become the old man Kanju he is today. Gao Yuan thinks. His whole life has been for atonement, to make up for his mistakes. But now, this has become a knot in his heart. Get up the FK. Hu Yuanfang yelled, and kicked Gao Yuan who was kneeling on the ground all the way. Get out. Get out of here. Stop living in your own world. No one blames you, everyone has forgotten about it a long time ago. Hu Yuanfang pointed at Gao Yuan who was lying on the ground. Remember, you are a night watchman now. Now is the time for you to fulfill your duties. He gasped, instead of living like a cowardly waste in the world of the past. If you still recognize me as your master, then wipe your tears away from me, and then lead your team members to save this city. For a long time, Gao Yuan got up from the ground and silently knocked his head on the ground. Then, he stood up. The members of the Red Moon team were already standing behind him. 10 minutes countdown to the coming of the gods. Close black lens bracket. In the mind scene, currently, the sword has been swung 20,000 times in total. Close black lens bracket. Reward. Happy sword domain. Close black lens bracket. Lin Tien breathed a sigh of relief after swinging his last sword. He could feel that the residual drunkenness in his body was fading rapidly. The old man with the sword box on his back sat cross-legged on a rock not far away, and said lightly, My lord, it's time to get out from here. Lin Tien walked up to the old man, bowed respectfully, Thank you, senior. No need to thank you, no need to thank you. The old man smiled and said, he waved his hand, Go out, we need you outside. Good. Lin Tien nodded, and immediately withdrew from the scene in his mind. Consciousness returns to the physical body. As soon as he returned to the present world, a strong smell of blood came to his face. Lin Tien's expression tightened, and he suddenly looked out the window. The sky is like the doomsday, with dim and cold sunlight falling down. Below, no one was seen for a long time, only the group of alien species looking for killing. He opens the panel. After seeing the countdown to 0, Lin Tien's expression suddenly became serious. The time for the gods to recover is today. Did not make any stops. Lin Tien put on a scarlet sweater, picked up the wooden sword and disappeared from the room in the blink of an eye. Look around. Gunpowder smoke mixed with blood filled the air. The howls continued. The huge and prosperous Tian City has now become a country belonging to different species. Brute. Lin Tien cursed and clenched his fists tightly. He could clearly sense that tens of thousands of night watchmen were fighting against alien species. Including Uncle Zhang. Uncle Zhang is here. Lin Tien looked towards the west of the city. There seemed to be no less than 10 awakened people above the 4th level gathered there. The aftermath of the battle even faintly showed signs of passing here. But the target of the battle is not a god, but an extremely powerful alien species. Conservative strength is above S rank. But Lin Tien didn't show any intention of supporting. He turned his head sharply. His eyes fixed on a tall building in the city center. Above the tall building, there were 3 black shadows standing impressively. Next second, a majestic ink sword chi cut out instantly. Boom. This sword is powerful, but it is empty. Lin Tien's expression remained calm, and his figure disappeared from the spot in an instant. It's so dangerous, it was discovered. The white rabbit touched his chest, and then looked at the pig-masked apostle with a trace of complaint. Didn't you say that he was in a certain mood for the past 2 days, why didn't you just kill him? The pig mask was helpless, curled his lips. That's easy to say. That guy didn't know what he was doing. When he was motionless, he seemed to be surrounded by a sword, and his whole body was full of sharp sword energy. He smacked his lips. Anyway, I can't break it. Useless guy. The white rabbit stretched his waist, pinched his fingers and counted the time. With a happy expression, the great god will come to the world soon, and by then no one can escape the fate of being liquidated. The task has been completed, don't stay here for long. At this time, the horse-faced apostle who had not spoken all this time suddenly said. The priest said, we have other things to do after the gods recover, and we can't stay here for long. The white rabbit seemed very reluctant. I still want to witness the arrival of God in Tian with my own eyes. I'm afraid it won't work. The horse-faced apostle shook his head, his expression suddenly froze, and he said coldly, let's go, that man is here. He was able to catch up. The white rabbit didn't really believe it, and there was even a trace of expectation in his eyes. Don't worry, Tutu, will protect you both. Her ability is suitable for long-distance shuttle, and does not leave any traces. The voice just fell. A sword intent struck from the air. What? The pig mask is startled. He was obviously fully prepared, but why didn't he notice the attack at all? Boom. The sword intention left a deep crack in the ground. So strong, Tutu, I'm so scared. If I get hit, I'm afraid it will be broken. 3 apostles barely escaped, but one of them was seriously injured by the sword. Tick. The horse-faced apostle gasped, and when he looked again, his right hand had been cut off by this sword. The apostles of the religion should be punished. Lin Tien stood in the air, without a sword in his hand. He just waved his hand and there was another sword intention. The killing intent is high. Why are you standing there? Run. Pig Mask yelled at White Rabbit. This kid has become so much stronger. Run quickly. I know. White Rabbit made a playful face at Lin Tien. Little brother, you are very strong, but you just don't know how embarrassed you will be after the Lord God comes to this world. Don't wait for White Rabbit to finish. Lin Tien swung his sword intent again. But this one hit the air. The White Rabbit and the pig mask had long since disappeared. There was no breath or trace left behind, and even he couldn't catch it at all. Wait for the smoke to clear. Lin Tien frowned. The White Rabbit didn't take you away. No. The horse-faced apostle stood there and replied calmly, as if he had expected it, I am injured, and the blood will expose us. Is that so? Are you going to kill yourself, or should I kill you? Lin Tien said coldly. The horse-faced apostle did not answer, but slowly raised his right hand, and then slapped his head with a palm. Boom. The head exploded with a sound, and blood spilled all over the floor. When Lin Tien saw this, his expression remained calm. As expected, the divine sect is a bunch of lunatics. They are not partners, perhaps not even allies. They are nothing more than a group of beasts that have lost their humanity, and they are just lackeys who have turned their backs on humanity and chosen to follow the gods. Etc. Sudden. Lin Tien seemed to have noticed something. Since the apostle named White Rabbit can travel long distances without leaving any breath. But what happened just now? Was it because he wanted to seduce himself into pursuing him, so he took the initiative to reveal his flaws? What is the purpose? Lin Tien's heart suddenly trembled, and his eyes stared in the direction of Tian number. 1 Middle school. Linger. It is assumed that the other party does this just to attract his attention briefly. Then the only people who can have an impact on him are the people around him. Uncle Wang or Uncle Zhang. One is at the 7th level and the other is at the 6th level. No matter how you think about it, there is no way it could be them. Therefore, the other party has only one goal. Zhang Ling. She is not yet an awakened person, and there are so many ordinary people around her. This is undoubtedly the best place for those crazy people to die together. These beasts. Lin Tien clenched his fists and rushed towards number 1 at an extremely fast speed. If you break my girlfriend's wings, I will destroy your entire paradise. P.S. Don't take it seriously. Tian number 1 Middle School. The long queue now leaves only the last group of students who have not yet entered the shelter. Several instructors were on tight guard and killed an unknown number of alien species during this period. Zhang Ling followed the team at the back, looking at the sky from time to time. The doomsday dusk is now mixed with black thunder and lightning, and the roar of the devil seems to be echoing in the ears. A heavy rain swept through the summer. Coming soon. The last team to keep up. Inside the school, a night watchman instructor yelled loudly. The corners of his eyes were blood-stained, and he barely opened one eye to see clearly. The black officer's uniform was even scratched by a foreign species on his chest with a bloodstain deep enough to show bones. Not only him, but almost all the instructors were seriously injured at the moment. In 10 minutes, they did not know how many alien species they had killed. Even if the flesh and blood were bitten, he never flinched or timidly. They stood at the outermost edge of the team, staring ahead, not daring to relax for a moment. Cheer up and wait for all the students to enter the shelter. A night watchman said with difficulty. A far-fetched smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. There are still brothers waiting for us outside. Conversation room. A figure appeared from above. The man exuded the aura of a king, looking down at everyone below, including dozens of instructors. Target. His eyes swept across the crowd, and soon he noticed a girl, Locke. Below. Zhang Ling, who was following the last team and preparing to enter the shelter, suddenly felt his heart tremble. She felt that there seemed to be a pair of eyes staring at her behind her. Even the air freezes. It became difficult to breathe in an instant. Zhang Ling only felt very panic in his heart. Turned back subconsciously. The heart seemed to stop beating for a moment. The black figure just stood less than 5 meters away from her, and stared at him motionless. The feeling almost suffocated her. It was as if the heart would be torn apart on the spot in the next second. The voice was stuck in the throat, and it was difficult to make a sound. Is this the legendary apostle? Zhang Ling's hands trembled uncontrollably, and her eyes slowly moved upwards until she saw the other party's mask. It is a snow-white tiger. After seeing the opponent clearly, the pupils of the dozen or so instructors present shrank suddenly. One of the 12 apostles of the divine sect, Day Tiger, a 5th-level awakener, the ability of the awakened object, tearing the truth. He stood where he was, his eyes revealing the sobriety rarely seen among members of the divine cult. Raihu clapped his fingers and looked at everyone in a daze. Even if someone ran into the shelter in front of him, he remained indifferent. The man with the white tiger headgear. Could it be the hero who came to save us? Some people seem to have discovered the abnormality of the other party, and some people have even begun to rejoice. It seems to be true. He should have come to save us, otherwise he wouldn't have stood there for so long. If it's a monster, it probably rushed up long ago. It looks like we're saved. But, is this really the case? More than a dozen instructors swallowed their saliva, their backs were already soaked in cold sweat, and fine beads of sweat flowed down their foreheads. Save people, how can it be? The other party is an apostle of the divine religion. Run. After a long time, an instructor struggled to squeeze out a word between his teeth. What? Run, get into the shelter, another instructor yelled. After speaking, he rushed towards the Day Tiger desperately. How could the apostles of the divine religion come to save people? They are a bunch of hopeless lunatics. As for why the other party didn't move, his indifferent eyes are enough to explain everything. If you say that Shenyang is perverted and crazy, then Day Tiger, it's arrogant madness. In the eyes of the other party, everyone present has long been regarded as prey for him to play with. It is an ant that can be slaughtered with just a hook of a finger. It's like a tiger will not eat immediately after hunting its prey, but will continue to play with each other until it dies. This is undoubtedly the most cruel. Day Tiger is like this. He looked coldly at the instructor rushing towards him, but slowly stretched out a finger. Silently, the instructor didn't even make a scream. The body was torn into two halves. The hot blood was sprinkled on his snow-white mask, but the other party didn't even blink. In an instant, all the instructors reacted. As night watchmen, they couldn't just watch the lunatic from the cult massacre the people of Daxia. Even if you die for it, don't look back. Run, run. A night watchman lit his last cigarette. He is just a first-level awakener, and he is well aware of the gap between himself and the other party. But so what? I'm AF King Night Watchman. Is level 5 awesome? Even if you are a god, I will chop it down for you. The man shouted loudly, raised his long knife and rushed forward without fear. The others showed no signs of weakness and attacked Raihu one after another. This moment, no one is timid. They were determined to die. Even if it only delays for a second. Is the Day Tiger awesome? Is the Apostle awesome? They are just the lackeys of the gods and a bunch of livestock that are inferior to pigs and dogs. One of the night watchmen yelled. There was no fear in his eyes. Don't be afraid of the Day Tiger, don't be afraid of the gods, don't be afraid of death. They now burned themselves into feeble fireworks. Just for the front. Let a ray of hope. 3, 2. Hiruta looked at everything expressionlessly, and he easily dodged the attacks of more than a dozen night watchmen. His eyes never left Zhongling. That was his goal today. It's all blame on that white rabbit guy. Obviously, as long as the great god comes to the world, the trouble can be solved. He had to go to great lengths to tease the young man who killed Shenyang. Just an apostle. At worst, just find another one. Well, pity. I want to refuse. But it's hard to refuse. Who made that crazy girl the most valued favorite of the gods? It's really troublesome. Johu patted his headache-ridden head and coldly spit out a number, 1. Suddenly, Raihu grabbed with all 5 fingers. As if the air was forcibly torn apart by some object, countless slashes fell to the ground. Hurry up and get in. Are the hundreds of people in front of you dead? They're going to die. You fat pig. Can you please stop taking up space? That lunatic really kills people. Woohoo, I don't want to be cut in half. Come in quickly. Why? Why am I not the first to enter? It's not fair. There are also delirious students who are already scared. With a wise look in his eyes, he tilted his head and pointed at the slash in the sky. Can the thing cut off anything? That's great. It just so happens that I don't want this thing for a long time. Hey, you can cut it. The slash is about to fall. By then, almost everyone present will die under these several slashes. Zhongling took a deep breath and looked at the close attack. A deep sense of powerlessness welled up in my heart. Are you going to die? She closed her eyes tightly, not daring to look directly at the moment of her death. At this time, several sword intents suddenly fell from the sky. Johu frowned and looked up in the direction of the sword's intention. There, impressively stood a young man in a fiery red sweater. Almost everyone was surprised. They all thought that they were bound to die, and a revolving lantern about their own life began to appear in their minds. But now, the few hundred students left on the playground looked up together. But when they saw the figure in the sky clearly, their eyes showed incomparable horror and disbelief. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted, Lin Tien. FK, isn't that Lin Tien? Am I already dead, so I have hallucinations. Lin Tien is actually a Superman. Really, I'm not mistaken. No, it's impossible, I must have hallucinations. Lin Tien saved us. There was an uproar on the playground at this time. They didn't expect that Lin Tien, who was rumored to be a poor student who skipped classes and even abandoned his companions, was actually a Superman. Inside the shelter, those students who had already hid and witnessed everything with their own eyes along the big screen. When B Fang saw this scene, his eyes were full of admiration. Listen, Lin Tien is not a villain who abandons his companions. He is a hero. He is a night watchman. He shouted. The excitement instantly rendered a large group of classmates. Many people who once questioned and ridiculed Lin Tien lowered their heads in shame. They were talking coldly to a hero earlier. Think about it now. Those who said before that Lin Tien was self-destructive, how would they feel now? Pretty ugly, right? B Fang shouted in a high-spirited manner. He does not allow a hero who has dedicated everything to Great Sha to be tarnished. The one who taunted Lin Tien before, now. Open your eyes and see. He saved us. A needle can be heard, but no one responds. He just silently looked at the figure on the screen. More than half of the people present were ashamed of Lin Tien. Anyone can see it. If Lin Tien hadn't appeared, the killer wearing the white tiger mask will kill everyone here after the countdown ends. Panting, B Fang pointed to the names of those who fought bloody battles on the playground. They are the heroes of Great Sha. They shouldn't be buried in the shadows. Heroes should be remembered by everyone. Above the playground. Day Tiger looked at Lin Tien above, frowning slightly. He hates this feeling, being underestimated. Day Tiger murmured, he didn't choose to attack those students again. Because that boy was there. It would be very difficult for him to kill again. Only the Day Tiger knows. This game has long since changed from a one-sided hunt to a game between two hunters. He is strong. The boy is the same. It was rare to meet an equal opponent, and the sobriety in his eyes was rarely covered by killing intent. I'm afraid the fight later will be quite interesting. There was madness in his eyes. You die, or I die. Puff. Lin Tien almost laughed out loud when he heard this sentence. Beast, you seem to have made a mistake. He looked down and looked coldly at the Day Tiger. Now you are the prey waiting to be slaughtered. Afterwards, Lin Tien smiled lightly. Look up at me, bastard. Ox. The students present couldn't help taking a breath. It's so forced. Several night watchmen looked at each other and said at the same time, he is Lin Tien that Speaker Wang said. See you today. It really lives up to its reputation. Day Tiger's brows were bulging with blue veins, and he stopped talking. He hated the feeling of being slighted. His arrogance did not allow him to be provoked like this. Raihu slightly hooked his fingers. Countless stealthy slashes cut through the space and rushed towards Lin Tien in an instant. And Lin Tien never touched the wooden sword wrapped with cloth strips behind his back. He made a sword with his hand and swung it horizontally. Day Tiger's several slashes instantly vanished and were easily shattered. Have to say, there are also gaps among the 12 apostles. Just like the Day Tiger in front of you, if you try your best, you can even kill a dozen gentry sheep in one go. This is the gap between the 5th order and the 4th order. But Lin Tien's sword intent is now at its peak, even if his current strength is not much inferior to Uncle Yang's. P.S. In order to prevent the collapse of combat power, the current strength is only because he has just withdrawn from Xinjing, and has not yet cut a sword in a real sense. After the Battle of God, the combat power will return to normal. But this is all temporary. The sword intent accumulated from the heart scene is now all accumulated in the wooden sword that has not been unsheathed behind him. If this sword comes out, the whole world will be shocked. If you despise me, you will die miserably. Day Tiger said coldly. His strength exploded without any reservation, and his hands turned into sharp claws as if they were real. It's just a running dog. Lin Tien sighed softly. The vast sword intent swept down like overwhelming. I want to kill the god you believe in. Swish. White light flashed. Compete with each other. That proud slash was crushed to pieces under Lin Tien's sword intent. The claws were broken, blood spattered on the spot. Day Tiger stood on the spot. He closed his eyes. He couldn't bear to look directly at his embarrassed appearance. The sword swung by this empty hand slashed his internal organs. He was completely defeated. Blood gradually flowed out from his 7 orifices. Day Tiger still stood on the spot without any movement, because his body had already been shattered by Lin Tien's sword. But compared to everything he's ever done, it's even merciful. To the final countdown to the withering of your lives. Day Tiger's voice was hoarse. God will clean up everything here, and then you will turn into a speck of dust in the new world. With God. The words fell. What little life he had left was lost. One of the 12 apostles, Day Tiger. Pawn. Back to the ground. Lin Tien turned around and found Zhongling, looking at the other's pale face, felt a little distressed in his heart. And Zhongling just stood there silently looking at Lin Tien. After a few seconds, without waiting for Lin Tien to speak, she took a step back and followed the other students into the shelter. Now Tian's crisis has not yet been overcome. There are countless alien species raging outside. Now is not the time to talk about this. Others are still fighting. And she is not an awakened person, just an ordinary person. Ordinary people, all they can do in this catastrophe is save their lives. Don't let the efforts of those heroes go to waste. In a dilapidated neighborhood, after witnessing Gao Yuan leave, Hu Yuanfang sighed and walked to the old closet covered with starch. He looked at the square wooden box. This time, without hesitation, he slowly opened the box. A black dust-free cloth lay quietly inside, and there were more than a dozen dazzling medals on it. HMPH, since ancient times, how can there be a reason for apprentices to protect their masters? Hu Yuanfang put on the commoner clothes cursingly, think about shit. I see. The bottom of the wooden box. It is a silver-white long sword. Long time no see, old friend. Hu Yuanfang stroked the blade of the sword. And the long sword hummed slightly as if feeling the echo, and the dim blade seemed to shine again. Many years ago, I put you down but it was hard to pick you up again. He thought that there was no sword in his heart. Only now do I know. It was I who lost the original heart of using a sword. Now, he is not the Hu Yuanfang who used to be addicted to swords. Kenshin is long gone, but there was another reason to pick up the sword again. Tian City. A dim yellow fireball rose slowly from the center of the city. The black light is like a god descending from the last days, and the ancient whispers spread throughout Tian. God is alive. Hundreds of crazy believers poured out from the ground. God. Walk with God. Detachment. I want to walk into the new world with God. I'm not qualified to judge God, but this light that shines on the world is so comforting. Night Watchmen. Unrepentant idiots. Don't stop the gods from recovering, kill them all. Let the great gods witness our loyalty. They shout, they mad, they kill. Many of these devoid of humanity believers were once night watchmen recognized by the Sejong. It was the same as Song Shiliu who was hacked dozens of times that night. Now, they were brainwashed, and the last trace of humanity disappeared with the revival of the gods. Today they are not worthy of being called human beings. In other words, it is a different species with temperature. Chengnin District. The Red Moon team obeys orders. Gao Yuan was covered in blood and his eyes were red. He grabbed a bat alien with both hands, and then tore it in half with all his strength. And behind him, it was a pile of alien corpses that had piled up into a hill. A thick steel gate. I would rather die than retreat. Gao Yuan tried his best to drink. His clothes were torn, and his body was covered with bruises. Receive, receive, everyone in the team shouted except for Lin Tien. Although Yang Qing is a woman, she looks like a god of war at this moment, with her sharp and cold eyes sweeping across a large area of alien species. Immediately, extreme ice burst out from both hands. In an instant, a large area of alien species was frozen. Today is too safe. 98% of the human beings have safely hid in the refuge under the desperate protection of the Night Watchmen. Throughout Tian City, there are tens of thousands of Night Watchmen and dozens of Night Watchman squads. All members of the Night Watch Division branch were mobilized, with the determination to die without reservation. The only task: guard the shelter entrance. Gao Yuan looked at the fireball emitting black light in the distance, and a tiny sense of powerlessness rose in his heart. Is it God? Wrong. What a fart. Captain, where is Lin Tien? Wu Yu raised the armored shield in his hand, blocking tons of attacks for the team members behind him wave after wave. There is no fatigue at all, as if he has been injected with chicken blood. Gao Yuan didn't answer. He knows, although the other party was not with them. But the goal of doing it is absolutely the same. That is to protect Tian. Xiaotian is doing more important things. Gao Yuan let out a long sigh of relief. Don't relax, you can't embarrass the Night Watchman. Okay. Wu Yu's momentum was high. Next moment, he turned around suddenly, and found that right behind everyone, a humanoid alien was rushing towards them. Boom. For a moment, the moment the figure was about to touch Gao Yuan, Wu Yu held up his shield and resisted it with difficulty. The tyrannical force made his hands sink, almost falling off the shield. But finally resisted down. That's the pause. After everyone saw that figure, they suddenly felt bad. Not good. It's a cultist. Gao Yuan shouted urgently, and a tyrannical mental power was released from his eyes in an instant. The god apostle seemed to lose his mind, his eyes were already filled with black light. Including Chen Haoshuan, the other 3 players present made moves at the same time. In a moment, the opponent's hands and feet were locked. But that's not all. The cultist struggled desperately, banging his head against the shield frantically. As if he couldn't feel the pain, he shouted loudly, "Walk with God. God grants me salvation." The voice tore through the throat until the opponent smashed himself to death before the shield. What a madman. Wu Yu flicked the shield, and kicked the opponent's dead body far away in disgust. Why is it like a zombie? He looked up, but found that everyone else was stunned. Unknowingly, this area seems to have dimmed a lot. Team leader, everyone didn't respond, they all looked towards the sky. Hundreds of black dots fell from the sky. Those ones. All are Christians, ready to fight. Gao Yuan's heart was ruthless, his mental power was diffused to the maximum, and gurgling blood flowed down the corner of his eyes. Maybe this battle, he will die, but no regrets. At least his short life was spent serving the night watchman. To him, death may be a kind of relief. The only disappointment. Gao Yuan's spiritual power condensed into several throwing knives, taking away several god believers wherever he went. He looked at the players around him who were fighting with him. He looked at Master's residence thousands of meters away. This is his reluctance. Pooh. A streak of blood streaked across his eyes. The severe pain in his abdomen made him grit his teeth and grunt. Several crazy believers rushed to Gao Yuan like zombies. Although they are weak, they are all awakened without exception. Roll. There was blood in his mouth, and messy hair rested on his blood-stained eyes. The tyrannical mental power instantly knocked the dozen or so believers into the air. Not only that, but the situation of other players is even more unoptimistic. Nothing but a bitter struggle. Seeing this scene, Gao Yuan panicked again. He desperately tore a gap in the road ahead. I'm here. You retreat. You go. It is said that I would rather die than retreat. But when he saw with his own eyes that his team members were about to die in battle, he was timid. It's fine for the other players to leave. Let him stay here alone, let him die here alone. But, including Yang Qing, everyone seemed to ignore this sentence. Didn't even look at it. Even if he is seriously injured, even if his abdomen is pierced and his bones are shattered. No one answered. Gao Yuan looked moved. How could he not know? Go on like this. Not only him, but everyone present will die from exhaustion. This moment, the ear-piercing buzz of fame exploded in his head. Gao Yuan seemed to take all the reasons on himself. For a moment, he seems to be in the dark, but he is stepping into the abyss of evil step by step. It's you. It's all your fault. Because of you, we lost the hero of Great Shah. How should you compensate? Why don't you die? The scene of that year seemed to be engraved in his eyes again. One after another extremely ugly curses kept coming back to his ears. Gao Yuan had no expression on his face, and he walked into the abyss without thinking. They are right. Master's downfall was caused by him. Everything that happened here, the death that the team members are about to encounter. It's all because he's too useless. It is obviously a red talent, but it has been stuck at the 3rd level for more than 10 years. Stop moving forward. Lofty. You trash. Everything that happens here is because of you. Yes. Why don't I die? Gao Yuan raised his head in confusion. When he saw a believer coming towards him, he took the initiative to let go of all his defenses. Just die like this. At least let him die in front of the team members. Gao Yuan closed his eyes. He has no face to face anything, including his master, his teammates, and those who gave him great hope. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.